The UPSC CSE arena is an ever-evolving space where staying up to date becomes as crucial as maintaining a thorough preparation. With strategic planning and holistic coverage for exam syllabus, Vision IS Delhi presents GS Foundation course. Avail analysis and integration of current affairs with GS syllabus. All India test series with an innovative assessment system, inculcating post-test analysis, discussion, All India ranking, and more. Explore the holistic learning modules intrinsically designed for the ideal aspirant.
Good morning. You have any doubts from the first two sessions? Have you seen the first two sessions? No doubts? Okay, so we have one part left that is mostly Indian economy. Before that, I think there's one more sector left. We completed external sector, yeah, financial market. So what type of questions are being asked from financial market and why financial market has become important? First, I'll just give you a brief overview on financial market and why it is important now. The thing was 2015 to 2020, we had significant developments in banking. There were issues with respect to NPAs, also urban cooperative banks. These were the two issues which were mostly asked in these 5 years from 15 to 20 because there were significant amount of recent developments that were happening in this sector. Questions came in 2021 and 22 also, which was mostly centered around UCBs, or we can say broadly regulation in banking. This we have already discussed when we were discussing the questions. Now such type of developments have reduced. Therefore, the significance of the banking sector has also reduced in the paper in the last 2 to 3 years. All of this has now centered around, is now moved to onwards, is on financial market. And this is not just reflected in the less significance of banking. In the last 5 to 10 years, there's a significant amount of investments that is flowing in the financial markets in the country. People are investing in the share market, the bond market through various sources such as investment banks, that is mutual funds and all. So there's a lot of interest shown in the financial market in the economy at large. Earlier financial markets were mostly dominated by foreign investors. Now domestic retail investors are showing a lot of interest in this. So all of the developments are now centered around financial market. That said, ऐसा नहीं है banking question नहीं आएंगे, but significance is slightly less as compared to what financial market is getting. Now, what type of questions are being asked? So we know that more focus is on financial market. One, the question is on the structure of the market. The various things that are existing in the market, what is capital market, what is bond market, what are capital instruments, what are different types of instruments and their classification. This structure means classification of the market, debt market, equity market, money market, capital market, all such classifications they've asked. In fact, this year also there was a question on, out of the following, which instrument is of money market. Last year they had a question, out of the following, which of the them are capital market. So basic classification of the sector is what they can ask here. Then second type of questions is the instruments available for investment. For example, you have, this year there was a question on INVIT. Then there was a question on inflation indexed bonds. All such types of instruments, what they are and features of these instruments. For example, what exactly is the meaning of the instrument is first, maturity time period, or you have tax status, what exactly is it, tax free or not, principal and interest. All such type of features is what they ask in the instruments. 2 to 3 statement question have been turning up on instruments, basic features of these instruments. Then finally, question can also turn up on institutions in the financial market. There is an institution of, say, stock exchange. Sorry. And we'll see all types of questions, how exactly they are asking on instruments, how exactly they are asking on structure. Instrument of clearinghouse or institution clearinghouse. Then you have depositories. This is the 3 broader scope of the questions coming from financial market. Banking was mostly respect to regulation. Again, financial market mein, institutions mein you can also cover regulation. Credit rating agencies are being regulated by what? SEBI, role of SEBI, all of those questions. So 3 major questions coming from this. The basics one is on structure, instruments, institution, mostly driven from current affairs. This is your static part, which you prepare from any source you are preparing from. You'll have the basics of the financial market. Instruments, institutions, say more probable question is going to come from the current affairs. As we'll see, the developments happening in the capital market, whether it is an institution or an instrument, both of them, presence in the news, the probability increases. For example, in 2021 or 22, they asked a question on retail direct scheme. Retail direct scheme, whether individual investors can directly buy government bonds or not. They had a 3-statement question. That was a current affairs oriented question because that year itself the scheme was introduced. This is what is with respect to financial market, and expect more questions coming from financial market because the importance of financial market has increased in the last 5 to 10 years. Banking ka relevance has reduced, but doesn't mean question is not going to turn up, but more focus would be on the financial market. In fact, if you see this year also, there's a significant amount of interest shown around the Hindenburg report. Hindenburg report and then the role of SEBI in it. What exactly was the role of the chairperson? So now what type of a question can come in prelims is not with respect to what the fiasco was. The question would be who appoints the SEBI chairman? Who is the appointing authority? What is the structure of SEBI? So any current event that is happening, you need to know the basics of that. Current event driven question controversy hai, prelims mein it's a less significance. Is it clear what type of a questions can come from financial market? Now we'll see one by one what type of they've asked specifically in these 3. With reference to IFC Masala Bonds, sometimes seen in the news. I told you questions with respect to instruments. And it has in fact combined both the things. It has combined an instrument which is a Masala Bond and an organization of the World Bank, that is International Financial Corporation. Anyone has an idea what is a Masala Bond? I think I discussed this in the previous classes. What is a Masala Bond? What is the meaning of a bond? Representing debt or liability. Now what happens in the case of Masala Bond is, this is mostly a case of external borrowing. So whenever an entity in India wants to borrow from outside, they issue a bond to the outside country, but this bond is dominated in foreign currency. Since the outside investor who wants to invest in the bond only has foreign currency, most of these bonds are giving money in foreign currency. This is what is a normal bond when you issue a bond outside the country. The moment you receive this foreign currency here, this foreign currency will be converted into rupees and then will be used in the economy. This is the regular idea of a foreign currency bond. Now what happens in this is, since the conversion has to happen at the end of issuer of the bond, the currency risk lies with the issuer. Currency risk, because there is any adverse movement, he has to bear the risk. Why? Because he has to convert the dollar into rupees, and then when he has to return, he has to convert the rupee back into dollar and return the money. So when this conversion will happen twice, any adverse movement in rupee to dollar will be the risk of the person who issued the bond. Is this clear? The issuer is the one who is bearing the currency risk. But in the case of a masala bond, this person is going to issue the bond outside the country, and this bond is going to be denominated in the issuer's currency. That means now the money that will be received by this person from outside the country will be received in rupees, which he can use directly. Now the conversion of dollar to rupee and then investing in the bond is the responsibility of the investor. This is what is a masala bond, shifting the currency risk from the issuer to the investor. And since investor is taking the currency risk here, when we compare a foreign currency bond to a masala bond, the interest rate issued on the masala bond would be slightly higher, because I want to show more interest in this bond. The interest rate of the masala bond is going to be slightly higher. This is what is the concept of masala bond. Is this clear? Now, what do you understand by IFC? Do you know what is the role of IFC? World Bank has number of bodies. This also I discussed in the previous session. One is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and the other is International Development Association. Out of these two, they provide developmental money. IBRD just gives loans, any other entity. IDA provides grants or zero interest loans to poor countries. In order to develop the private sector, the body is International Financial Corporation. These two bodies usually give loan to governments or agencies which get the government guarantee. IFC is responsible for developing the private sector in a particular country. Private sector ke liye it can provide number of ways on which you can raise money, bonds, shares, a lot of things which IFC provides. Now, what exactly is the question asking? The IFC which offers this bond is an arm of the World Bank. Now, this is clear. There are 5 arms of the World Bank. This is an easy statement. Masala bonds are rupee denominated bonds and a source of debt finance of the public and the private sector. Is this clear what exactly is masala bond? This is what we discussed. Anyone in India can issue a masala bond, whether it is public or a private sector. What is important in a masala bond? That the bond should be denominated in Indian currency. Both of them are correct. Answer is both 1 and 2. Next, the Reserve Bank of India manages and services Government of India securities, but not any state government securities. What exactly is the role of RBI in any economy? RBI has multiple roles in the economy. What are the roles of RBI? One is RBI is the one which is responsible for issuing currency. The paper notes are under the control of RBI. Then what else? Monetary policy. That means it controls the money supply through its various tools. Liquidity adjustment facility. Anything else? RBI is also the custodian of foreign exchange reserves. RBI is also the regulator of banks. Any other function? RBI also acts as a banker to the government. This role as banker to the government has been given by the RBI Act of 1934. That RBI manages the debt of the central government, accepting deposits, giving out money, and managing the debt is responsibility of the RBI. Now, this responsibility of the RBI with respect to central government is given in this act. But the same act says, if state government want to give the debt management or any of the banking functions to the RBI, they can do so by signing agreements with RBI. The same act gives the responsibility of center to the RBI directly, but says if the state wants RBI as the manager of their money functions, state governments can sign an agreement with them. So it's not under this act, but agreements which have been signed by various state governments with the RBI. It also performs the government, all of the banking functions for the state governments. Some of the governments have given limited functions to the RBI. For example, for the state of Sikkim, it has only given the function of debt management to the RBI. None of the other functions have been given to the RBI. So the banker to the state government is according to the agreements which state governments have signed with the RBI. Center government ka sab kuch hi banking function is maintained by the RBI through the RBI Act 1934. So when the question says RBI manages and services Government of India securities, that means it is managing the debt of central government, but not of state government. State government also it manages through the various agreements. So this statement is incorrect. Treasury bills are issued by Government of India and there are no treasury bills issued by state government. What do you understand by treasury bills? So I said financial market mein first thing you need to know the organization of financial market. Financial market can be of two types. One is money market and the other is capital market. What is money market? Money market includes all those instruments which operate less than 1 year. Capital market is for more than 1 year. Money market solves the temporary liquidity problems. Capital market is mostly for developmental purposes. Money market mein instrument for the government is what is called as a treasury bill or a T-bill. There is a money market instrument issued by the government also when they have temporary mismatches in their finances. There are two types of instruments. One is a treasury bill and the other is a cash management bill. Treasury bill is issued for 91 days, 182 days and 364 days. Whereas cash management bill is only issued for 91 days. What are the features of these two instruments? Both of these instruments are zero coupon. That means no interest rate being paid. Now, if there is no interest rate being paid, why would some investor invest in this instrument? Because these instruments are issued at discount on face value. So if the instrument is of 100, it will be issued at say 95. Issued at a discount, but redeemed at the face value. So the difference between the issued and the redeem value is what the benefit is. Treasury bills issued by government, this is true. State governments are not allowed to invest in this treasury bill or not issue treasury bills. They are not allowed. Treasury bills offer are issued at a discount from the par value. It is a zero coupon security. They are issued at a discount. The answer here would be 3 only. So knowing the basics of the structure, you have to prepare all the basics of the financial market. What exactly is the structure? In this treasury bill, you should know all the features. Which of the following is issued by registered foreign portfolio investors to overseas investors who want to be part of the Indian stock market without registering themselves directly? This is called as. So if you know those various instruments, what is a certificate of deposit? What is a certificate of deposit? I told you there is a classification, one less than 1 year and more than 1 year. Less than 1 year money market government instrument is T-bill. If the bank wants to raise money for less than 1 year, how can a bank raise money? What are the ways in which banks can raise money in the money market that is less than 1 year? What are the ways available to a bank? Yes? Yes. One is they can issue in the interbank market, that is call notice and term market. 1 day, 1 to 14 day and more than 14 days. This is the interbank market. Otherwise, it wants to take from other institutions, including the public. They can issue something called as a certificate of deposit. So if I want to take money for less than 1 year, I can issue a certificate of deposit to the investor. This is issued by a bank, not by a foreign institutional investor. This is incorrect. This is a bank instrument. What is a commercial paper? If any firm, private firm wants to raise money from the market for less than 1 year, it is called as a commercial paper. Promissory note. What is a promissory note? What do you mean by that? Promissory note means any particular instrument promising to return the money at a particular date, time, and with an interest rate. Bond can also be classified as a promissory note. Now in this, what happens is participatory note. A particular foreign portfolio investor is investing in the Indian financial market. Now this foreign portfolio investor investing in the Indian financial market has to register themselves with the regulator. Regulator has to know the complete information about the investor, KYC of the investor, and also it has complete control over the financial market, regulation over all institutions. However, there is certain investor outside India who wants to participate but doesn't want to register with this organization. So how they can do it? They can provide whatever money they are providing, and this money gets invested in this market. In return, the foreign portfolio investors gives them something called as a P note, and therefore P note becomes an derivative instrument. Why? Because P note is deriving its value from the shares which have been invested here. This FPI using this dollar will invest in the Indian financial market and is going to get whatever shares it has invested in or in any particular bond. P note represents the value of this. So I have invested in this Indian market without getting myself registered with SEBI. Why this instrument is a derivative? Because this is deriving its value from an underlying asset, that is a share or bond in the Indian financial market. So issued by registered to overseas investors who want to be part without registering themselves directly. This is P note. Basic questions on how the economy is structured or how the financial market is structured. Is this clear? What is a participatory note? A lot of news also you'll see on participatory. Another question on basic structure of the market. Commercial paper is a short-term, unsecured promissory note. Short-term, why? Just we discussed commercial paper is issued by firm and is issued for less than 1 year. Unsecured means there is no security and it is in the form of a promissory note. Is this clear? Certificate of deposit is a long-term instrument issued by RBI to a corporation. What is certificate of deposit? We just discussed. It is issued by banks. It can be issued to anyone. Is it a long-term or a short-term instrument? Short-term. So both ways this is incorrect. Call money is a short-term finance used for interbank transactions. Yes, call money is 1 day, notice money is 1 to 14, and 14 to 1 year is term money. Zero coupon bonds are interest bearing. As the name suggests, zero coupon, would they be interest bearing? Issued by scheduled commercial, you don't have to go there. Zero coupon and interest, both the things do not go hand in hand. Any particular, we'll discuss this in the yield question. Any particular bond or a financial security which is debt type, what are its features? What does bond represent? A debt? What are the features of this debt instrument? The money which you want to take is what represents the face value. This is the principal amount. Then how much time you want to take this money is what is your maturity period of the bond. Since you are taking money in the form of debt, there is a cost of money involved. You have to pay certain cost. That cost is called as the coupon rate. Coupon rate is the interest paid on the bond. Right? These are the three features. And when this bond will be bought or sold before its maturity, that would be called as its bond price. The price at which the bond gets traded in the market. This is a tradable instrument. Tradable, or we can say a negotiable instrument. Negotiable means you can negotiate its rate, at what price it can be bought and sold. That is referred to as bond price. And the rate of return which you get on the bond is called as its yield. Bond price is the price at which it is bought and sold. And yield is the rate of return on the bond. If you know the basic features and you know coupon means interest rate, this question becomes easy. because it's saying zero coupon bonds are interest bearing. If they are not interest bearing. So answer here would be 1 and 3. Basics of the market. Is this clear? Yes. Rediscounting at the commercial bill. So, for example, you've sold this bond to a bank, right? Now there's no interest rate. That means whenever you sell it, you will have to sell it at a discount. Any particular bond not carrying an interest rate, any short-term market instrument, mostly they are not carrying interest. You'll have to sell them at a discount. Now what this organization, bank or any organization, wants to sell it further, it will have to offer a discount on a discount. Again, for example, a 100 rupee bond is being sold for 95. Again, when it is to be sold in the market, you will have to offer some discount or give them at a premium depending on what the market situation is. So for example, RBI's bank does not have money, it is giving it to the RBI. Therefore, it has to, and this rate in case of bank to RBI transaction, the rediscounting rate is called as bank rate. This is what is rediscounting. And the rediscount rate is what is bank rate. Because if you know the difference between repo and bank, in bank you can give any other security apart from government security. So the rate at which you get the money for such type of an instrument is the rediscounting rate or the bank rate. Commercial bills ka bhi rediscounting. This is how it happens. Bill of exchange, commercial bills, all of them are short-term money market instruments. Indian government bond yield are influenced by which of the following? Just now we discussed what is a bond yield. A particular instrument, what exactly is its? This is a government security, and yield would mean the rate of return. That means a particular person, investor, is holding this bond. We need to calculate what is the rate of return if he is going to sell this bond. Or rate of return uske perspective se karenge jo isme investor hoga. We always assume the rate of return from the perspective of the investor. I will choose a decision to put money somewhere based on what my rate of return is. I have certain savings. Should I put the savings in a bank? Should I put the savings in a bond? Should I put the savings in real estate, gold, or any other instrument? Depends on what exactly is my rate of return. So we always check the yield from the investor perspective, not from the one who is holding the security. Always from the investor perspective. Actions of US Federal Reserve. Now US Federal Reserve, that means can change its interest rate. If US Federal Reserve increases the interest rate, that means any investor who is outside India will be willing to invest here or here. US only. So if I want to create interest in this, I will have to increase the rate of return, and yield of a particular bond is dependent on what? Yield of a particular bond is dependent on two factors. One, what exactly is the coupon? How much interest it is offering? And since a person, say A, has bought this bond, and when it wants to sell it to another investor, that is B, can A change the coupon rate? Can A change the coupon rate? No. Then how will B get a different rate of return from A? It can change something called as the bond price. Coupon to main change nahi kar sakta because I'm not an issuer. So how do I provide a rate of return? I can sell it for a lesser price. Now if they are giving more returns and my investor B is in US, in order to give them more yield, I will have to reduce my bond price. If bond price reduces, the yield will also increase. That means yield is changing with interest rate of US Federal Reserve. Because what I have to do is I have to garner interest for my instrument. If interest outside is more, my instrument will not get the return. So I will not be able to sell it. In order to sell it, I will have to offer comparable returns both sides. This is why this is correct. Is it clear? How actions of Federal Reserve? Then how actions of RBI are going to impact the bond yield? Now, if the RBI is going to increase the interest rate, let's follow the same example, increase of interest rate. What is the action that the bank has to take? If the RBI increases interest rate is what we are calling as repo rate. If they increase repo rate, what will the bank do? For loan, you know it is going to increase the interest. For deposit, what it is going to do? For deposit, what exactly the bank will do? It has to increase here also. If they're getting money at 6% from the RBI and they were earlier getting 5%, do you think any investor is going to give them money at lesser rates? Whenever RBI increases the rates, both deposit and loan rate go up. Similarly, when they decrease the rate, both deposit and loan rate fall. All rates in the market move in the same direction. Now, if an investor in India is getting more rate in deposit, will the bond also offer more rate? अगर बैंक में डिपॉजिट पे पहले 5% मिल रहा था, अब डिपॉजिट पे 7% मिल रहा है. So where will I put this 100 rupees I have? In the bank or in the bond? Bank. So what will the bond holder do? He will again reduce the bond price because he wants to sell the bond as comparable to the bank deposit rate. Therefore, actions of RBI also have an impact on bond price. There can be other actions also. For example, RBI can also engage in open market operations. What do you mean by open market operation? Buying and selling of security. Buying and selling of security, that means I can change the demand and supply of this bond. I can reduce its quantity, the price will go up. Price will go up, yield will fall. All of these actions will have impact on bond yield. Then inflation and short-term interest rates. How will inflation impact bond yield? No, I don't know. How are you assuming कि inflation के बाद interest rate increase होगा? For example, inflation is in India is suffer consistently for 5.5% and then increases to 5.8%, right? Can you say for sure that the RBI will increase the interest rate? वो तो monetary policy committee बोल सकती है ना, we are keeping the rate same. We think the inflation is not too high to cause any damage in the economy, I can keep the rate same. So you can't assume that inflation means increasing interest rate. It is likely to happen, more likely to happen, but you can't assume it will always happen. So how will inflation impact bond yield? If there is inflation in the economy, investor thinks the inflation is happening at 8%. That means minimum 8% वो return मांगेगा अपने interest, whatever 100 rupees. He knows that the value of money is going to fall. So is he going to demand roughly 8% on what the value is going to fall? If he's going to demand 8%, the yield has to match the inflation rate. If I don't get, so for example, bond yield is 5%, rate of return on bond is 5%, and value of money is falling by 8%. Will anyone show interest in this bond? एक साल में पैसे की वैल्यू 8% से गिर रही है, but आप रिटर्न 5 दे रहे हो. That means you have to match this or give more than this. In that case, you will, in order to create the demand for this bond, you will have to reduce its price. So inflation will also impact the yield. All three are correct. Is this clear? You don't have to assume inflation means increase in interest rate. It might not happen. All the three are correct. Is it clear? What we have to check is when will investor show a interest in the bond? It depends on what the market situation is. It can influenced by all three factors. Is this clear? Bond dynamics? This was year 2021. Year retail direct scheme was launched. You know what is exactly happening in this scheme? What is a retail direct scheme? Anyone has an idea? Can investors? Yes. So were they allowed before to invest in government security? Retail investors were allowed to now invest in government security. Were they allowed before? They were allowed, but through certain intermediary. Mutual fund ke through, any other fund house ke through, you could buy government security. But now what you can do is, directly you can do this government security sale and purchase. You can do it directly in the first issuance and also in the secondary market. You know the meaning of the two? What is primary market? What is primary market? When the security is issued for the first time, that is the primary market. Secondary market is when already issued securities are traded. Investors के बीच में जब trading होगी, that is secondary. But when it is issued for the first time, it happens in the primary market. Now retail investors can directly buy this government security in the primary market and the secondary market without any intermediary being involved. In the primary market, for issuance in the primary market, you can open a retail direct gilt account with the RBI. This is going to help you directly deal in the market of government securities. Now, one feature which they introduced here was that though you can buy directly, but you can only buy it in a non-competitive auction. Now, what do we mean by non-competitive auction? RBI believes that retail investors do not have the expertise to participate in the auctions of government security. तो अगर आपको directly buy करनी है, you can only mention the quantity which you can buy. The price you cannot bid for because the RBI believes you don't have the expertise. Price पे auction बाकी participants करेंगे. Whatever the auction price will be, on that particular price you will be allotted the quantity which you have bid for. It is called as a non-competitive auction or a non-competitive bid by retail investor. तो आप प्राइस पे ऑक्शन नहीं कर सकते गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी की. यू कैन ओनली टेल व्हाट क्वांटिटी यू वांट. दिस इज व्हाट इज विद प्राइमरी. सेकेंडरी यू कैन डू. देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम इन सेकेंडरी मार्केट. नाउ हाउ डू दे पार्टिसिपेट? सो दिस इज करेक्ट. They can invest in treasury bills and government of India debt bonds in primary market. How will they trade in this market, in the secondary market? In order to match the two participants, one who wants to sell and one who wants to buy, there is an institution or a platform created by RBI that is called as the Negotiated Dealer Settlement Order Matching. ये platform है जिसपे both buyer and seller can meet in order to transact in government security market. So this is why I was telling you structure तो पता होगा, instrument institutions भी पता होने चाहिए. This is why this was important. The NDSOM is a government securities trading platform of the RBI in order to match the buyer and the seller of the government securities in secondary market. This is correct. Central Depository Services is jointly promoted by RBI and Bombay Stock Exchange. Again, a question on institution. So these two were in the news because RD in this retail direct scheme was in news. So if you read the features of the scheme, you'll find information on NDSOM also. Now, what exactly is the function of a depository? Have you heard of the term DMAT? DMAT account. What is a DMAT account? Or what do you mean by DMAT? हाँ, तो DMAT क्यों बोलते हैं उसको? So the trading, how if you want to buy shares of a company, earlier what used to happen was it was delivered in the physical form, both shares and bonds. Now this became highly tedious because trading in physical paper was very difficult. So what we did was through depositories, we made it into a dematerialized form. Dematerialized form, that means it's in digital form. इसके लिए ही आपको डीमैट अकाउंट मिलता है. So what happens is any stock exchange has a depository. This depository will have hold of all the securities which are being traded here. Depository की services use करने के लिए we have number of depository participants. So what investors do is investor open up an account with the depository participant. जो आप डीमैट अकाउंट खोलते हो वो depository participant का है. Depository is for various stock exchanges to provide these holding services for various securities. There are two depositories in India. One is Central Depository Services Limited and the other is National Service Depository Limited. ये Bombay Stock Exchange का depository है and this is the depository of the National Stock Exchange. The National Stock Depository Limited and the Central Depository Services Limited. This has been promoted by Bombay Stock Exchange along with other banks and this has been promoted by the National Stock Exchange. UPSC asked an unrelated statement on depository here. So CDSL is jointly promoted not by RBI but Bombay Stock Exchange. Answer is 1 and 2. Is it clear what depository does? Depository is just like a bank. Bank holds the deposits in money form. Depository holds the deposits of securities of a particular stock exchange. इस stock exchange पे dealing के लिए आपको depository participant, the investor will get access to the depository participant through a DMAT account. It could be a mutual fund, it could be a bank. A number of agencies provide this DMAT services, that is depository services. This is what is the function of depository. Answer is 1 and 2. understanding the basics of how the market works. With reference to Indian economy, what are the advantages of inflation index bonds? What are inflation index bonds? Basic structure, instrument. What is inflation indexed? Bonds which are indexed to inflation. What is indexed actually in that bond? Bond yield rises. Does the bond yield also rise? वो तो rise करेगी inflation से, but any particular bond I told you has face value, that is its principal, has its coupon rate. When we say this bond is indexed to inflation, what are we meaning? What is indexed to inflation? The interest rate or the principal or both? Both of them are indexed to inflation. Before inflation index bond, RBI came out with capital index bonds. Capital index bond में सिर्फ principal को inflation की protection थी. That your principal was linked to inflation, but in an inflation index bond, both your principal and interest will be protected against inflation. It's not just principal alone, interest भी आपका inflation indexed है. That means if you have been offered an 8% interest here, 8% plus inflation is what you're going to get here. Principal पे भी आपको principal plus inflation मिलेगा. That means it provides the investors for uncertainty regarding inflation. This is true. Government can reduce the coupon rate on its borrowing by way of inflation index bond. How can it reduce its coupon rate through inflation index bonds? Why will they offer less coupon rate on inflation index bond? Because this already protection has been provided. If I don't provide this protection, you will always account for inflation. This is why I can reduce this number, because I'm already giving you an inflation rate. Otherwise also, if I am offering say any X% plus inflation rate, that means also I have the incentive to control inflation. If I control inflation, मेरा total coupon rate और भी कम हो जाएगा. So both ways, I can reduce the coupon rate on its borrowing by inflation index bond. I told you in this the example of yield that if inflation is 8% and you are offering 5%, will anyone buy this bond? So you will have to offer more than 8. That means you have to increase interest rate. But if you are giving 5% plus inflation, then you can reduce this 5% because you're already offering inflation. So government can reduce its coupon rate by the inflation index bonds. The interest received as well as capital gains are not taxable. This is tax feature you need to know. UPSC is asking a lot of questions on whether returns are taxable or not. Now, what is the government benefit of giving it the returns as not taxable? This does not make any sense. They are taxable. Answer is 1 and 2. Tax feature of any particular instrument, if changes, that will always be present in the budget. For example, this year they said long-term capital gains on real estate, this would be changed. Then after 6 months they change. So now you will have a question on what do you understand by long-term capital gains, or any changes were made in long-term capital gains or not. This is how you can have question on the tax nature of the instrument. Basic the tax nature of all instruments you should know. Slightly difficult question, but since there was action taken on this, इनका license cancel किया था SEBI ने, this is why it was in news, but still a difficult question because we don't do these type of statements. Indian credit agencies are regulated by RBI. You know what are credit rating agencies? What are credit rating agencies? How will any investor know where to invest? How big? They don't have complete market information. So in order to create trust in particular instrument, or even the issuer who is issuing that instrument, there are certain credit rating agencies which will rate based on their ability to pay back. So Standard & Poor is one of the credit rating agencies. Standard & Poor, Moody's and Fitch, these are the 3 global credit rating agencies which enjoy a lot of trust of people. So this credit rating agency is helping you understand the reliability of the institution or the instrument in which you want to invest. Who is regulating credit rating agencies? Is it RBI? It is SEBI. The rating agency, popularly known as ICRA, is a public limited company. This was a correct statement. In fact, if you eliminate one, you can get to the answer. But otherwise, this is a difficult question if you don't have elimination. If you have elimination, you know it is SEBI, you can get both of them correct. It is a public limited company, and Brickwork Rating is an Indian crediting agency. Brickwork Ratings was in news. This is why this question was asked. With reference to convertible bonds, what are convertible bonds? Convertible bond is which can be converted into equity. So what you can do is, at the end of your maturity period, you can convert all of your debt into equity of the firm. This is something which has already been given as a feature of a bond, that if you have taken a bond face value 1 lakh rupees, in exchange you can say buy 1,000 shares of the company, which is already decided in a convertible bond. It gives the conversion of debt into equity. This is what is a convertible bond. As there is an option to exchange the bond for equity, they pay a lower rate of interest. Yes, there's a conversion. That means you can get a market linked return. This is why they offer a low rate of interest. Why they can get a market rate of return? Because 1,000 shares in 2023 and in 2024, the market price of the shares will be different. तो आपका return market linked हो गया. Otherwise, debt का return कभी market linked नहीं होता है. This is why they're more secure, because there is a fixed rate of interest. यहाँ पे vary करता है rate of interest. Why? Because you don't know what the market value of the equity would be. The option to convert offers a bondholder a degree of indexation. What do you mean by degree of indexation? That means it is providing you benefits of inflation cover. Indexation means my investment is protected against inflation. This is what is indexation. Wage को index करता है. We heard of this term, dearness allowance for government employees, DA. This is linking their salary to a index for accounting for inflation. Dearness allowance is nothing but indexation. कि आपकी wage हमने fix की है, but inflation ज़्यादा हो रहा है, so हम आपको एक DA देंगे. That is accounting your changing your wage, indexing with the any particular inflation indicator. Now, how does conversion to equity affords indexation, or does it provide indexation? How? So when you have a bond, 8% is offered in a bond. After 1 year, irrespective of inflation, you will get 8%. That means there's no indexation involved. But if you convert it to 1,000 shares, when you bought the instrument, the 1,000 shares market price was different. Today, the market price of shares is different. That means there is some inflation accounted for in this market price. So you moved from an instrument which did not provide any index cover, inflation cover, but this market price which you exchanged in provided you that inflation benefit. So this degree of indexation is provided when it converts to equity. Because what has been given in the bond, you can convert into 1,000 shares. But वो 1,000 shares का price क्या होगा? That is not fixed. 1,000 share का price 2024 का होगा, जो inflation reflect करेगा. Because if there is inflation, changes in the market dynamics, the share will offer you higher returns. So it is indexed to inflation because market price was not decided. Only what was decided was quantity. This is how you get the indexation benefit in conversion. In this, the answer would be both 1 and 2. The issuer can, the investor can decide whether to convert or not. If you say that the issuer will decide, then the option is as good as no. Then there is no option. Answer will be 1 and 2. I know that this is the equity price of this. Should I convert or not? Why do people invest in debt? They want fixed. If they want to take the market risk, they invest in shares. Here I get the benefits of both. This is why interest is low. No, you can exercise that option to convert or not. Definitely, there are different options in this also, whether on the date you will tell or before that, there are different options which you can, depending on what the terms are. An easy question in 2023. Which of the following are included in capital markets? What are capital markets? Long term for development, more than 1 year, instrument ki maturity. Government bond market. Yes, debt market, the dated securities. Call money. It is a short term, 1 day. Treasury bill. Short term. Stock market, long term. So answer here would be 1 and 4. Answer is only 2. Is it clear? Who regulates capital market? SEBI. Who regulates money market? It's the RBI. RBI regulates money market in India. SEBI regulates capital market. In the context of finance, the term beta refers to. This was one of question which they asked for a term, very specific term. Now this could be a repetitive thing in the future. So this is why all such types of structure and organization, any terms, alpha, beta, gamma, any terms which appear in the news or otherwise also if you understand the structure of the market, these type of information you should know. Because what happens is they try to give a bouncer one and then they continue with the same theme. So this might be difficult in this year, but you can expect questions on this line. Just like I told you, banking se finance aa raha hai, so finance mein you have to go in certain detail. You will have to cover these basic terms which are coming in news also, and if not coming in news, as a basic structure of the market. Beta is a numerical value that measures fluctuations of a stock to the changes in overall stock market. So this year this was difficult, but you can expect such type of questions from this year onwards. 2023 में this is something you could have ignored. ये question मुश्किल था. Answer is D here. Though there were articles in the newspaper, but those things were not covered back then because तब तक वो theme नहीं बन रहा था beta. Interest income from deposits and InvITs. What are InvITs? Investment, infrastructure investment trust. What are these? Real. What is the benefit? वो तो कोई भी investment fund कर सकता है. For example, you can buy something from mutual fund. See, the problem with infrastructure or even real estate is these are big volume assets. Retail investors may not have the money to invest in these assets directly, whether it is real estate or infrastructure at large. So certain trusts have launched a mutual fund type scheme where you can put money in this trust which will invest on your behalf here. So it pools the money of investors and gives you units according to the investments that have been made in a particular real estate asset. This will be called as real estate investment trust, and for infrastructure, larger assets, that is infrastructure investment trust. So just like mutual funds pools the money of the investors, mutual funds ka specific hai, they invest in equity, they invest in debt, or they can invest in both equity and debt. तो ये funds आपके behalf पे invest करता है. Similarly, real estate or infrastructure investment invest in these assets only, not in these financial markets, and give you returns based on the units that have allocated to you. This is what is the meaning of real estate and infrastructure investment trust. Interest income from deposits in these trusts distributed to their investors is exempt from tax, but the dividend is taxable. Now, there's no reason specifically that if an investor is investing here or the investor is investing here, he should get a tax benefit. अगर हमने इसको tax benefit बना दिया, this is creating a separate field for these instruments and trying to pool money from small investors. There's no specific benefit of pooling money from small investors, so why will we give them a tax benefit? You need to see, if you don't know the fact, take the fact whether the statement is done. If you don't know the fact, you need to find a reason why will the government make this investment exempt from tax. Does the government want small investors to pool their money and bring in the infrastructure sector? Is there any reasoning or logic behind it? If you can't find any reasoning, this statement would be very difficult to justify why the tax exempt status. So this statement is incorrect. InvITs are recognized as borrowers under the Security Sarfazi Act 2002. Now what is Sarfazi Act? What is the remit of Sarfazi Act? If any financial institution has given money to a particular firm, for example, in this firm, they have given money to an infrastructure fund and they do not return the money back, this company can overtake the guarantee which they have given without involvement of the court. Securitization and reconstruction of financial assets and enforcement of security. This line means कि हम security interest को, I can sell it, I can use it without the court interference. That I can enforce the security interest without this. And InvITs are recognized as borrowers under this. Because what InvITs have done, the InvITs have pooled money from investors and they have invested in infrastructure asset. So agar ye paise nahi dete because of this, they will be recognized as borrowers under SARFAESI. This is again a difficult statement to know, but questions are moving in this direction. Question easy ho gaya tha from the first statement. Otherwise, second statement, you need to know the SARFAESI and from what SARFAESI is applied. This is why we say reading 2 newspapers become important, because this type of information is covered in the news. Answer here is D. 1 is incorrect, 2 is correct. Last 2 years, financial market questions have become slightly tough. A very interesting question. If the US were to default on its debt, holders of bonds will not be able to exercise their claims to receive payment. Why is any particular government bond said to be the benchmark of interest rate? What do you mean by benchmark? English meaning ही benchmark का है कि this is the mark at which you can set interest rate over and above this, right? इसी पे हम benchmark क्यों बनाते हैं? किसी भी economy में government security is the benchmark. Why is it the benchmark? For example, if the government is offering 5%, everyone will get money more than 5%. Why government has 5%? The lowest, that is the benchmark. Because everybody will have the maximum trust on the government. Trust की वजह से ही 5% है. This is the reason why. In fact, what is the benefit of US dollar being a global currency? See why I'm deriving this statement, because you know the basics, you will be able to solve this question. Dollar is a global currency? Yes. What's the benefit for US that it is a global currency? किसी भी country का currency अगर global है, उसको benefit क्या है? It can print. One, it can print any amount. Other countries cannot print because they don't have the dollar. They can't print the dollar, right? What is the other benefit? You don't have to store anything else. Liquidity वही print करते हैं तो liquidity है, और कुछ नहीं, तभी वो global बना है. Trust नहीं तो उन्हें global currency बनाया है. For example, why do you trust the rupee? It is just a piece of paper without any backing. Why do you trust it? Government, right? तो इसकी government पे सबको trust हुआ, stability पे trust हुआ, तभी वो global बनी. Anything else? Benefit means that you can issue a debt and you will get the lowest interest rate. Why will they get the lowest interest rate? Because US government, whenever is issuing a government paper, government security, it knows everybody wants that security. Everybody wants US dollar or something near to US dollar, that is US government security. तो जब उसकी demand हमेशा ही market में है तो उसकी debt हमेशा lowest interest rate होगी. Right? Why are people buying it at lowest interest rate? Because they trust the US government. Everything is based on trust only. US government cannot, it does not say that I will offer you gold or I will offer you that asset. Any particular government offering a security, it is only offering on trust. The state will pay no matter what governments change. For example, the finance minister in the last 3-4 years made a statement, why can't we reduce the price on oil? Because the previous government had issued oil bonds. We have to pay for the bonds. So government koi bhi change ho, state has to pay. Right? It is paying because of trust. That means if the government refuses, that means the government were to default. Do the investors have any other thing to go to? The holders of US Treasury bonds will not be able to exercise their claims to receive payment. वो claims करेंगे किसके ऊपर? If the government defaults, will they able to ever exercise their claims to receive payment? Because it is all based on trust. Is this clear? If the Indian government has offered you paper, if the government says we are not paying it, do you have any option to take money from the government? It is all based on not any hard assets, but only on the faith of the government. But ये होगा नहीं कभी भी. Why this will not happen? Because any particular country has the opportunity to print. External debt पे default हो सकता है because I don't have the dollar to pay you back. But internal debt तो I can always pay. Because I can borrow whatever amount I don't have. I can print another government security to the RBI and ask them to print money. Take the money and give it to the people. So monetization ka to I have always the thing, so why will any government default on its internal debt? There's no reason to breach the trust of the people. So this is why we don't find practical examples of this. External debt pe default hoga. For example, Sri Lanka recently defaulted on its external debt. Why? Because external debt has to be serviced in dollars. So my economy cannot print dollars. I might have shortage of dollars. Answer here is both. 1 is correct, 2 is correct, and 2 explains statement 1. Is this clear? It's all based on trust. There's no hard asset. Which of the following can trade in corporate bonds and government securities? This was an easy question. Insurance companies. In fact, insurance companies and pension funds are those which trade the most in bonds. Maximum money for larger investment products, capital markets come from this because they have money which is in for the longer term. Insurance company, what is the meaning of insurance? Insurance company function kya hai? It is a risk protection. That if the risk materializes, हम आपको financial claim देंगे. The claim is always financial. You pay me a premium. If your risk materializes, we are going to cover a financial cost of it. Not everyone who has bought an insurance might require that. That means insurance companies are sitting on long funds. Long funds का वो करेंगे क्या? They are mostly investing in corporate bonds and government securities. Similarly for pension funds. I've calculated pension और वो जो मेरे को देनी है, I have to give it 20-30 years later. I will invest and get the return from corporate bonds and government securities. Long-term development money mostly comes from insurance companies and pension funds when they invest in corporate bonds and government securities. Retail investors. Retail investors can participate. In fact, there's a direct scheme also. All the 3 are correct. This was an easy question, not any technicality involved. What do you mean by a financial instrument? What is a financial security? ये भी आसान question है. What is a financial instrument or a financial security? Or what do you mean by money? What is definition of money? You can exchange, okay? It's a function of money. Is any economy's most liquid asset. That means it can be used in transaction without loss of value and time. Anything else? What does money represent? Money in any particular economy represents the claim on the resource you have. किसी भी good service के ऊपर claim बता रहा है आपका. I have 500 rupees of good. 500 means value of the good, the claim. So money is representing a claim on the resource. Similarly, a financial instrument or a financial security is something which represents a claim on money. Money represents a claim on resource. That means it tells the value of the resource or the good or service. Similarly, financial instrument is also a claim on money. The claim can be of 2 types. If the claim is of a liability, that is a debt type, this is referred to as a financial instrument of a bond. If the money represents or if the claim represents ownership, this is referred to as stock or equity. So financial security or financial instrument is something which represents a claim on money. If the nature of the claim is debt, it is called as a bond. If the nature of the claim is ownership, it is called as a stock. Just like money represents claim on resource, financial instrument represents a claim on money. These two are not something which are real. This is something which has been artificially created. We discussed there are 3 sectors in the economy. One is the government sector, the other is real sector, and the third is financial sector. ये है पूरा financial sector. Anyone who deals with money or claims on money, that is financial, this is referred to as the financial sector. वो created है इन दोनों के functions आसान करने के लिए. We had a discussion on government, real and financial before also. Which of the following are financial instrument? What is motor vehicle a financial instrument? This is a real instrument, not a financial instrument. Currency swap. What is a swap agreement? You know what are derivatives? What is the meaning of derivatives? Derivatives are certain instruments which do not have a value of their own, but derive their value from an underlying asset. Derivatives can be of multiple types, and another famous derivatives are swap agreements. Now, what happens in a swap agreement? Anyone has an idea? It's a currency swap. There can be number of swap agreements. Swap agreements mein two people have certain amount of liabilities. For example, A has a liability, he has taken a loan of 1,000 rupees and is paying a fixed interest rate of 8%. B has taken a loan of 1,000 rupees but is paying a variable interest rate depending on market. Now A wants to have a variable rate, B wants a fixed rate. तो दोनों अपनी liability exchange कर सकते हैं और उस instrument को हम बोलेंगे swap. And when they are doing it in opposite currencies, different currencies, it is called as a currency swap. मैंने रुपये में borrow किया है, आपने डॉलर में borrow किया है. We swap each other's liabilities. That instrument which is representing this type of an arrangement is called as a swap. And most of the time swap happens when risk is different. One side the risk is fixed, the other side the risk is variable. So for example, India and Sri Lanka have a swap agreement. Sri Lanka paid it in Sri Lankan rupees, India has paid in dollars. They can ask in any currency. This is the arrangement which we have. So this swap arrangement allows the swap here on this. Yes. So this is what is happening. आपका पैसे मैं दूंगा, आप मेरे पैसे आप दोगे. Why? It's representing such an arrangement where you have to pay. So why? Swap is not representing a claim on money. You have to pay my interest rate and I have to pay your interest rate. It is representing what? A liability which you have to owe because I did not want to take a fixed liability. Why in any scenario? Financial instrument is what? Anything that represents a claim on money. तो मैंने आपको $1,000 दिए और आपसे श्रीलंकन रुपी लिए. अब मेरा क्लेम है कि आपने मेरे को वापस इतने डॉलर देने हैं और इतने रुपये मैं लूंगा. Is it not showing a exchange of money? Is money real? What do you mean by real money? Money की तो value इसलिए है क्योंकि because I believe it is true. Otherwise that paper does it have value? Real is all goods and services which have been produced for consumption. Money was created because I could not make the process of exchange easy. Exchange के लिए ही तो currency बनाई. Currency does not have any value of its own. It only represents value because you believe it is value. Why do you believe? Because the government said that it is a legal tender. Definitely. I gave you the definition very easily. Financial instrument is anything that represents a claim on money, not a claim on resource directly. Money represents a claim on resource. तभी तो वो liquidity है. Money is the most liquid asset because it can be converted for exchange. You might say no to the instrument. You can't say no to this because this has been given the maximum trust, that is, अगर इसको legal tender बना देंगे फिर वो same हो जाएगा instrument. Financial instrument is something, financial security is something which represents claim on money, monetary value है उसकी. Is it clear? No, it's not. It could be interest, could be different. I can have features in the swap. क्या I'm exchanging at this rate, I will take back at this rate. Swap एक contract है. मैंने लिखा मैं आपको आज $1,000 दे रहा हूँ और इतने पैसे ले रहा हूँ. 1 साल बाद 2 साल बाद मैं इतने पैसे वापस लूंगा. It's just a contract which represents this arrangement. Or example, what is the future? It's a contract which represents that I will execute the transaction after 1 year at this price. Swap में I'm just exchanging by liabilities. It could be anything, currency swap, interest rate swap, principal swap, it could be anything. Exchange traded funds, what are ETFs? Knowledge of financial market. Exchange traded fund is if a particular investor wants to invest in a stock market, right? अब उसको stocks का ज़्यादा interest or he does not have a lot of knowledge, but he knows broader sectors where he wants to invest. So certain funds, what they do is they can pool certain stocks together and create one ETF out of it. This ETF will be listed on the stock market. So you don't have to invest separately in them. You can invest in a pooled security which is already listed called exchange traded fund. Funds, investment houses, they can pool securities. For example, you want to invest in PSUs, but you don't want to do it directly in different PSUs. एक fund ने 5 PSUs का एक ETF बना दिया. and this ETF will be traded on the market itself. This is why it is called as traded on the exchange fund which pools investors. How is it different from mutual fund? Exchange traded fund is traded here, and we already know what type of securities are put here. Any shares, bonds, whatever the combination is. In a particular mutual fund, investors put money here and you get units here. इसकी कोई भी strategy हो सकती है किस में invest करें. Both are passive investment because you don't take the active role. Already decided ETF on the stock exchange. Mutual fund change कर सकता है depending on whatever its strategy of investment is. This is traded actively. This is traded passively. Actively, why? Because you can sell and buy any time of the day. Here, selling, buying units happens one time because उसकी एक दिन की strategy तो execute होगी जो उसने की है. This is why this is active. You can buy and sell any time of the day. This is passive. You can take out the money only at the end of the day when the strategy has been executed. This is slightly different from ETF. Exchange traded funds हैं जो mirror करते हैं किसी index को. 50 companies on stock exchange, I created one index fund, which is nothing but exchange traded fund. Mutual funds भी same कर सकते हैं. I can also have a predefined strategy कि मैं सिर्फ इसी index को follow करूँगा. The difference is, this is not actively traded, that is actively traded in the market. You can buy directly from the stock exchange like normal bonds or shares. Answer here would be 1 and 3. Is it clear? You don't have to overthink. Financial instrument simple चीज है जो value है. Representing a claim on money. A mixture, mostly it is shares only. वो दोनों को मैं risk कैसे combine करूँगा ETF में? Bonds and shares. Create तो fund houses कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, like it's free whether they get interest in that ETF or not. With reference to Indian economy, collateral, borrowing and lending obligations are instruments of. What is CBLO? Money market instruments, what are the types? This is why I told you basics में structure पता होना चाहिए. Money market में कितने instruments हैं? One money market instrument is government, that is T-bill. What else? Interbank market, call, notice and term, certificate of deposit and commercial paper. Anything else? You have trade bills, commercial bills. Anything else? Participatory note. Are they money market? What else? Sorry. Is there any other instrument in money market? You have the repo market. What happens in repo market transactions? It's not just bank. Banks doing it with RBI are called as RBI repos. Any participant can exchange guarantees, that is securities, in exchange for money. आप securities दो उनको as collateral and then take money back because you have a repurchase agreement of this security. Repo means repurchase. What is famous in India is RBI repos. Interbank repos भी हो सकते हैं. Give me number of repo market. Repo market का मतलब सिर्फ repurchase है कि मैंने आपको security दी और वो मैं आपसे repurchase करूँगा. At rate at which this will happen is the repo rate. What is famous in India is the RBI repo rate, which we call as the policy rate, right? Similar instrument like repo market is called as collateral borrowing and lending obligation. This obligation transfers have been created by a clearing house of RBI, that is the Central Clearing Corporation of India Limited. What is a clearing house? Clearing house का क्या function है? Institutions of financial market are important. What does a clearing house do? A wants to buy security from B, तो A ने B के को security they want to buy and B has to get the money. तो इनके अकाउंट से सिक्योरिटी माइनस होगी, इनके अकाउंट से सिक्योरिटी प्लस होगी. Who will do this? This is done by a clearing house. And RBI for money market for foreign securities has created a clearing house which is called as the Central Clearing House of India Limited. ये क्लियर करते हैं. Clearing house, this is also referred to as a central counterparty. ये क्लियरिंग हाउस ये है. व्हाट इज मीनिंग ऑफ काउंटर पार्टी? काउंटर पार्टी किसी भी ट्रांजैक्शन में क्या है? इन दोनों में अगर ये दोनों डायरेक्टली डील कर रहे हैं, बी के लिए काउंटर पार्टी ए है, ए के लिए काउंटर पार्टी बी है. व्हाट इज मीनिंग ऑफ सेंट्रल काउंटर पार्टी? ए वॉन्ट्स टू प्लेस एन ऑर्डर ऑफ बाय, वो इसके साथ डील करेगा. बी वॉन्ट्स टू सेल, वो इसके साथ डील करेगा. तो दोनों के लिए काउंटर पार्टी क्लियरिंग हाउस है. क्लियरिंग हाउस क्रिएटेड बाय द आरबीआई फॉर मनी मार्केट इज क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया लिमिटेड. Now, what this clearing corporation has done is, if two people want to participate in money market instruments, that means they want to borrow or lend for shorter time period, and this money is backed by collateral. To do this type of a transaction, they have created a window which is called as CBLO. Clearing house of RBI has created, if two participants want to buy, borrow or lend money for shorter durations and is backed by collateral, this window is available to them. How is this window different from repo? दोनों ने same function किया. Collateral involved है दोनों में. I will repurchase. Here also repurchase will happen when the transaction settles. The difference is, in the repo market, the repurchase only happens on the due date. I cannot settle the transaction before the date. In CBLO, I can settle the transaction before the date. I can repurchase before the date. This is the only difference between these two markets. Both of them are money market exchanges. This CBLO window has been provided by Central Corporation of India Limited, which is a clearing house established by RBI for money market transactions and foreign exchange, including government securities. तीन चीजों के लिए central party है. One is the money market, the other is foreign exchange, and the third is government security. CBLO are operated by Clearing Corporation of India Limited. So if you know the basic structure of money market and its instrument, this question was very easy. CBLO is money market. Strange. This is something which cover in the class. Bond market could be treasury bill market, could be capital bond market. Bond market तो है ही ना. Bond market here could be this only, capital debt market. Why there is nothing called as a bond market? See, this type of a question should not be wrong. In fact, इस साल का सबसे आसान question था, because if you read money market, don't you read about all of these instruments? यही instruments हैं बस. Collateral borrowing and lending. Bond market mostly are unsecured. Why will they have a security? Collateral backing. हाँ, मतलब अब सोचना तो you can think anything, but again I could not, you cannot question this. This is a basic question covered in static. इसके अलावा instruments ही नहीं है money market में. There's another which is not very frequent, money market mutual fund. इसके अलावा instrument ही नहीं है money market में. These are the maximum instruments. And this is something as मतलब we've covered it in classes, so this is not a difficult question. No, see, this is what I said. Now this type of a fact, now you can't guess over it. वो तो फिर किसी भी डायरेक्शन में ऐसा होता होगा. This is why I said guesswork works where there is some type of a feature happening in the market where you can still reach to the answer. But this is a basic thing which is like a feature. ये है कि इंडियन मार्केट मनी मार्केट में यही इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं. यू कांट थिंक ओवर इट बिकॉज ये फैक्ट है कि यही करता है वो. स्ट्रक्चर जब तक नहीं पता हो कि क्या है, इट वुड नॉट बी, यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू सॉल्व दिस. दिस इज गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि ट्रस्ट है ना. गवर्नमेंट क्यों देगी कोलेटरल? इनफैक्ट व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन डिबेंचर एंड अ बॉन्ड? Some books mention that debentures are unsecured, bonds are secured. But actually this is not true. Debenture is issued by a corporate in India. They're not called as bond. Bonds mostly are referred to those issued by the government. And this is why we call it as security. Security तो किसी भी type की हो सकती है. Security could be bond, security could be shares. Security is nothing but representing your claim on that money. Debt claim है या equity claim है. इसमें आप नहीं सोच सकते हो. CBLO एक phrase यूज है जो corporate this CCIL has given as a window that if you have collateral and you want to borrow and lend for shorter durations, less than 1 year, we allow you to do that on this platform. Difference between CBLO and repo is that you can settle this collateral lending before the time period. तो आपने पैसा लिया 6 महीने के लिए, आपने 3 महीने में वापस करना, अपना कोलेटरल वापस ले जाओ. रेपो में you have to settle on the due date itself. That's the only difference between repo and CBLO. Now this is a fact that if I'm providing you a window by this name, you can't guess के क्या हो रहा है, क्योंकि मैंने फैक्ट दिया हुआ है ना आपको, मेरा फीचर है स्कीम का ये, so you can't guess के क्या हो रहा है. This is something this feature should have been covered. It's not a very difficult thing to find. इंटरबैंक ट्रांजैक्शंस एक तो टेलीफोनिक मार्केट है, कॉल मनी एंड नोटिस मार्केट. और इंटरबैंक ट्रांजैक्शंस आई कैन इशू अ कॉर्पोरेट सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ डिपॉजिट, और आई कैन हैव इंटरबैंक रेपोज आल्सो. That I want a collateral, this is the repo rate which banks are offering. Repo का तो एक simple meaning है repurchase. What is famous in India is RBI repos. RBI dealing in repurchase with the banks, that is exchange of securities. क्योंकि repurchase क्या करोगे? वो this depends on what exactly the interaction is. If I have more trust, तो सबसे पहले तो interbank call on telephonic exchange only. But if I believe that they'll not be able to send, give me a security, participate in repo or participate in CBLO. RBI repo is only one thing which you read as a part of monetary policy. Otherwise, repo could be in any two institutions that I have a repurchase agreement. You have taken money from me, I have given you security. This becomes a repo transaction that you're going to repurchase the security. वो RBI repo है. Not RBI तो is the most trusted. आपस में होगा तो ज़्यादा रेट पे होगा. If RBI is giving me money at 6%, why will I come to you for 6%? I'll go directly to the RBI. If I've come to you, that means I've exhausted that window. Now, if I want to take money, I will get it with more than 6%. Why will I come to the other bank for 6%? RBI definitely is the benchmark. Is it clear? This is a feature, like it's a fact. You can't think over it कि क्या question है ये. It was an easy question. Now your Indian economy. So we have discussed all of the sectors. What exactly is the domain of Indian economy? Half of the paper we discussed is macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is mostly conceptual part where there are very less facts. Macroeconomics mein what we have done, we have covered 5 major sectors. We have covered, first is national income accounting, topics of growth, GDP and related topics. Second, we discussed topic of money, monetary policy, which covered the topic of inflation, though it was given in the document separately, but we've covered inflation also. Then third topic we have discussed, public finance, that is your fiscal policy, government tax expenditure. The fourth thing discussed in detail was external sector. यहाँ पे थोड़ा fact था because external sector I told you has trade dynamics also, international institutions also. इसका conceptual part was only 2 things, balance of payment and exchange rates. Then the fifth sector we discussed in detail was banking and financial markets. This is the sector we discussed just now. कि यहाँ के क्वेश्चन थोड़े कम हो रहे हैं, यहाँ बढ़ रहे हैं क्वेश्चन. So you are expected to prepare this in detail. CBLO, beta, all of these terms have to be prepared because now developments are less. Doesn't mean questions will not be here. यहाँ development होती है, यहाँ भी question आएगा. Financial market, slightly more relevance. Static source, from where you have done rest of the things. That will decide what source you are going to do now. Indian economy. Indian economy is sectoral analysis. Complete sectoral analysis is what they cover, driven from mains syllabus. So the first and foremost is whether you know the structure of the Indian economy. This structure will be covered on 3 fronts: agriculture, industry and services. Agriculture में most of the topics are 1-to-1 relation with mains topic only. Agriculture questions can come on land reforms, subsidy including MSP, agricultural marketing, trade, फूड सिक्योरिटी, इरिगेशन एंड लाइफ स्टॉक. यही आपका 1-to-1 मेंस का सिलेबस है. Complete mapping, but here the question would be more factual in nature. So if the question asked in mains is what is MSP, how does MSP help the farmers, question in prelims would be कि कौन सी crops पे MSP मिलता है. What is the mechanism of MSP? Fertilizer पे subsidy है, who decides the price? How exactly the price is decided? In food policy, the food security, for example, FCI distribute food grains. What is the cost of food grains? So basics facts of all of this is asked in prelims. इसका analysis part mains में covered है. Industry and services, this is mostly related to what is happening in the current domain. Employment, industrial policy, any new order, for example, the fixed term employment, new changes were made. E-commerce policy, whether this is allowed or not. Casual employees will be getting leave or not. All of this, industry and services, current affairs oriented. And basics of industry and services you can cover from a source, that is your India yearbook. इसमें 3-4 chapter हैं which you need to cover. Labor and employment, skill, industry, all of those 4-5 chapters with respect to this two will give you maximum questions in the paper. You don't have to read the complete 32 chapters, you only have to read the chapters corresponding to industry, including the chapter of labor. There you will get the information on which ministry controls what, which are a number of questions here. Skill से related हैं, labor से related हैं, industrial policy से related हैं. All of them will be covered in the yearbook. In this you also have one subsector included, that is the sector of infrastructure. Again, basics from the yearbook and any other current development that happens in this sector. This is what 6 to 8 questions will be here. 6 to 8 questions are here. Maximum you can score here also, either because of mains if you prepare comprehensively, you'll be able to solve. In agriculture and industry services, once you prepare the basic structure, so basic structure आपने इन सबका पता कर लिया कि agriculture India में ये structure है. This much is the population, this is what the performance of the sector is. Once all of this is prepared, you need to prepare 2 things more. One is the complete amount of schemes. Once basic structure is prepared, you need to know what the intervention of the government in this sector. And there's no timeline of scheme. Timeline of scheme means that the scheme covered in 1 year will be asked. This is absolutely not true. 10 साल पुरानी scheme भी पूछ सकता है, because schemes are topic oriented, not date oriented. So if I have a scheme on irrigation, I'm preparing the topic irrigation, I need to know what 5 schemes are there in irrigation. Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program, Watershed Development Program. This is not which has been introduced today. 70s की scheme है, 80s की scheme है, फिर भी पूछी जाएगी because scheme topic से आती है, scheme date से नहीं आती है. So we have an idea or we have a strategy of preparing the schemes which were in the news. There's no specific rule written के सिर्फ वही आएंगी. Topics के साथ scheme prepare होगी. And also the institutions which are involved in these schemes. So this is why questions get wrong here, because expectation is we have done 500 schemes which were there in the news this year only. We tend to miss the scheme. You have to prepare it along with the topic. So if I'm preparing land reform, what do I mean by land reform? What is land reform? Just to give you an example, land reform का मतलब क्या है? Is it about redistribution? See, land reform in India had a specific meaning of redistribution only after the independence. Right now, land reform has different meaning. Organization and management, any reform on land, for example, Digital India, the land modernization program. तो जो हम land record modernize कर रहे हैं, वो भी एक land reform है. It's land reform. It's not just the redistribution that happened after independence. Those 5 land reforms that happened after independence, for example, the abolition of zamindari, tenancy, sealing. What else? Creation of cooperatives and consolidation of land. ये 5 land reforms is what we discuss after 1947, which is a topic for mains also. But right now, after 91, land reform has a different meaning. That is, managing the ownership of the land could be one, that is land records. Anything else? Digital is this only. Land records management का digitalization है, उसमें एक और scheme है, स्वामित्व scheme. These are the 2 schemes for digitization of land records. Anything which we call as a land reform today. Land dispute settlement, again record का ही है part. A very famous act was introduced in the parliament in 2013 on this. Acquisition of land. ओनरशिप से ये भी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कर रहा है एक्विजिशन. एंड व्हाट इज द पॉलिसी ऑन एक्विजिशन? देयर इज अ सेंट्रल लॉ, लैंड एक्विजिशन रिहैबिलिटेशन लॉ इन 2013. The land acquisition and land records and post 91 के reforms हैं. UPSC this year has picked this question. Previously they have in 2019 picked a combination of these. Is it clear? The scheme has to be prepared along with the topic. अब Digital India Land Record Modernization Scheme is not a this year scheme. In fact, ये पुरानी scheme का renaming है after 2014. National Land Record Modernization Program was the name of the scheme. So you have to prepare the topic and the schemes involved in the topic. It's not related to date. So don't fall in this trap that schemes will be asked on date or on this particular year. No, this is not going to happen. In social sector also you'll see whether it is the Janani Suraksha Yojana. उस पे 2 बार question आया है 17 में भी and this year also. This year or I think last year is again a scheme not related to the timeline. It is related to a topic that is institutional deliveries. NFSA में भी 4 scheme है उस पे भी question आया है. I'll show you number of questions which are all topic oriented and not date oriented. Now coming to the Indian economy, the 3 types of questions. So this should be clear. That sectoral, first structure and then schemes and institutions. First, knowing the basics of the complete sectors in the Indian economy. For industry and services, yearbook is a very good source. For agriculture, whatever source you're preparing, macroeconomics, you'll prepare all these topics also. Schemes and institutions again related to topics, not related to date. We'll see in the questions itself. नहीं, जैसे अभी एग्रीकल्चर के तो सारे टॉपिक मेंस का सिलेबस है. इंडस्ट्री का भी कंप्लीटली दिस मेंस का whatever the basics are. For example, employment से related whatever schemes are there. Topic is employment. Topic is not that employment से इस साल क्या स्कीम आई थी. It could be anything. So you have to prepare the topic. This is why I said yearbook से सबसे ज़्यादा information मिलेगी. Because yearbook mostly covers this two only. For these two, that is important. एग्रीकल्चर का बेसिक्स भी है क्योंकि बहुत सारी पॉलिसीज हैं एग्रीकल्चर में. हाँ, फिर व्हाट आर यू प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर? एक ही बार एक पेपर क्लियर करने में से 40 साल की भी तो लाइफ मिल रही है. ये थोड़ी कि 4 साल के लिए बना रहे हो, 4 साल बाद दोबारा हो लेंगे कि पेपर दो. With reference to land reforms in independent India, which of the following statement is correct? This is a very good question. Ceiling laws were aimed at family holdings and not individual holdings. See, if you have to prepare the basics well, this is a statement. Ceiling laws. What was ceiling laws? The limit on the maximum holding. And when ceiling laws were implemented, were they implemented uniformly across all states? State governments will have, because land is a state subject. Some states had it on family and some states had it on individual. This statement is not correct. So if we prepare the basics of ceiling, 1972 mein, when Indira Gandhi came to power, she held a CM conference on land reforms. And the first thing they recommended was that states should not do it on individual holdings, they should do it on family holdings, because individual से individual आप family में रख सकते हो सारा land. This was the first recommendation given by the Chief Minister's Conference on Land Reforms, after which ceiling laws were changed in some states and benefit was received. Andhra Pradesh was one of the states which performed better. Major aim of land reforms was providing agricultural land to all landless. Why did we do redistribution? Redistribution किया था 1947 के बाद. Why were we doing that? DPSP में ये लिखा था कि we are going to protect the landless. It resulted in cultivation of cash crops as predominant form of cultivation. So when we are redistributing land, right, that means land size will increase or land size will reduce. Reduce. If the land size will reduce, will you be able to do more cash crops or food crops? Cash crop होगा नहीं. Cash crop is plantation के लिए ज़्यादा चाहिए land. हम कम कर रहे हैं. And also in India, after this, Green Revolution happened, which increased the production of food and not cash. Land reforms permitted no exemptions from ceiling limits. There were a number of exemptions. This is why this reform failed. Answer is this. Why the confusion would have been here? Because question is saying all. So this thing of okay, we'll eliminate anything which says only and all, this is absolutely incorrect. ये strategy answer पता चलने के बाद चलती है. Answer पता चलने से पहले नहीं. Read all the statement on their own merit. I can have an aim for providing land to all on landless. I may not able to execute it, but objective तो मैं अपना रख सकता हूँ ना ये. So this statement was the correct statement. So don't fall in a trap के all and only वाली चीजें हम eliminate करेंगे. Every question has to be done on its own merit. UPSC will never follow a strategy which can be solved like this के all only ठीक हो जाता है. फिर selection बहुत आसान हो जाएगा. Is it clear? In fact, the whole purpose of prelims is to remove people who are not serious. Right? Why should I check papers of those 9 papers of those people who are not serious? I just want to eliminate screen. I don't want what their score is. Because score अगर important करना होता हम final selection में रखते. I just want to screen. I want to test their ability when they write. This is what is going to decide their selection. So why will I have such type of strategies being followed here? एक दो question में तुक्के से आपका वो सही हो सकता है. Doesn't mean the rule will be applying every time. Every time it has to be done on the merit of the question and the statement.
Does the vast syllabus of general studies for the UPSC Prelims overwhelm you to initiate your preparation for the civil services examination? Is your apprehension and self-doubt coming in the way of your success in joining the civil services? Comprehend your preparation for UPSC Prelims 2025 with the fast-track course targeting general studies with innovative curriculum, revision and mentorship. Starting from 19th November at 1 p.m., the course offers coverage of UPSC GS Prelims subjects, dedicated mentorship support and guidance for performance maximization, access to PT 365 classes for current affairs preparation, sectional mini tests for regular assessment and performance, personalized student portal to access study material, access to live and online classes. Enroll today and make prelims your stepping stone to proceed to the UPSC mains.
This year, the question on Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. To implement the program, 100% funding of the central government. So whenever you prepare a particular scheme or a policy, what all things you prepare there? किसी भी scheme में what things you prepare? See, there are 4 or 5 variables which you need to prepare for any particular scheme. First is, which ministry is responsible for that? UPSC has asked multiple questions on ministry. Second is, what is the funding pattern? Is it 100% central sector or it is centrally sponsored? The third is, for whom are we bringing the scheme? What is the target population and does the target have a eligibility criteria? The fourth is, what is the scheme intending to do? And the fifth is, how will the scheme do this? These are the 5 variables which you prepare, and UPSC question is always on this. Who brought it? Who will give the money? For whom did we bring it? What do we want to do? How will we do it? What we want to do is the objective. Feature is how this objective will be achieved. Mains mostly has a analysis here, but we don't go there because mains का mostly question is topic oriented, not scheme oriented. Topic में कोई scheme है तो पूछा जाता है. This is what the variables which are need to be prepared for prelim. Again, this scheme has to be prepared from a particular topic and not date. In fact, I told you in banking also कि lead bank scheme पूछी है जो 1969 में launch हुई थी. So nothing has to do with it was in the news. When the scheme is in news, its probability of getting a question can be higher, but doesn't mean that this is the only question that is going to come. It is always going to be this, and try to prepare it with this only. उसमें learning outcome भी ज़्यादा है. Because once you see all 500 schemes together, there's a lot of confusion. But when you prepare the topic, this becomes easy because you have already prepared what the issue was. Issue के साथ जब ये prepare होगा, ये चीजें याद होंगी. Because it will be one-to-one linked with the issue. If you don't prepare it with the issue, it is very difficult to learn because it's all fact then. Yes, it is a central government which provides 100% funding. Under the scheme, cadastral maps are digitized. As you can see from the name itself, map of the whole land parcel will be digitized. This was not a difficult statement here. An initiative to transliterate the record of right from local language to any of the languages recognized. Can this be a probable feature? Why? Because everywhere land records are mostly in the local languages with their different terminology. We are trying to provide that feature so that it is a customer or familiarity exists. All the 3 statements are correct. This is Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. A lot of things related to this were in news. Land parcels, the ULIP, UPIN, Uniform the Parcel Identification Number, Property ID जिसको बोल रहे हैं. In Haryana, this has become a major election issue. The property ID led to a significant amount of hassles with the administration. कि किसका land गलत लिख दिया और वो गलत आगे चढ़ गया, then you have to go with the administration and get it corrected. Property ID was the unique parcel identification number, which is a feature under this scheme. Just like individuals get Aadhaar, land will get a unique parcel identification number. The fair and remunerative price of sugarcane is approved by. Is FRP and MSP? Is linked to MSP? What is FRP? And does FRP have a legal backing? Where? Does MSP have a legal backing? ये तो clear है क्योंकि वही demand है, right? What is the legal backing on FRP and why does FRP have a legal backing? FRP is in what market? Sugarcane. So here you need to prepare the whole pricing policy in sugarcane, जो basics में covered है. Why does the government announce an FRP? Anyone has an idea? Sugar? Viability fund के लिए तो एक और चीज बनाई हुई है, sugarcane development fund, SDF. वो मिल्स को देता है. See what happens here is farmer sells sugarcane to the mills. Mills will process sugarcane into sugar. The thing about sugar is 70% of the cost of the sugar is sugarcane cost. That means majority of the benefit of the mill comes from the cost of sugarcane. Now government believes that if cost of the sugar is coming maximum from the sugarcane, the benefit should go to the farmer. आप ये बेनिफिट सारा नहीं ले सकते. बेनिफिट शुड गो टू द फार्मर बिकॉज शुगरकेन इज ऑल्सो रॉ वेट लूजिंग मटेरियल, रॉ मटेरियल. तो उसके ऊपर बहुत स्ट्रेस आ जाएगा. सो व्हाट द गवर्नमेंट सेड इन द इनिशियल डेज इज कि मिल से जो भी प्रॉफिट आता है शुगर से वो आपको प्रॉफिट शेयर करना है. नाउ दिस पॉलिसी फेल्ड ड्रास्टिकली. व्हाई? बिकॉज मिल्स वुड ऑलवेज अंडर रिपोर्ट द प्रॉफिट. So they'll not get the benefits to the farmer. So what the government did was, government under the Essential Commodities Act 1955 passed an order in 1960s that you don't have to give the profit. आप sugar बनाने से पहले ही उनको एक price दो. This price was called as statutory minimum price. Under the Sugarcane Control Order of 1966, central government said, we won't wait for profit. आप एक statutory minimum price दो farmer को. This was the minimum price. In 2008-9, the government believed minimum price was not good enough for the farmer. It changed it to a fair and remunerative price by accounting some more cost variables. This SMP was changed to FRP. Accounting for more cost variables, it became fair and remunerative. It no longer was minimum. Minimum nahi hai ab ye. It is a fair and remunerative price which each sugar mill has to pay to the farmer. This price will be decided by Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, but final decision इसका लेगा Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and this price will be applicable throughout the country. This is something was done because of the nature of this market where most of the sugar price comes from the sugarcane. In order to protect the farmers so that farmers do not stop sugarcane production, because if they stop this, we will have to rely on the imports of sugar. तो उसको हमने एक statutory minimum price दिया जो FRP में convert हुआ. This Essential Commodities Act is an act which is of the concurrent list. Even the state government can provide a price on this, which is called as a state advised price. And whenever the state announces as SAP, the farmer will get SAP and not FRP. But what is the difference between the two? वो center or state, anything else? SAP is always higher than FRP. Any other benefit? FRP is mostly linked to recovery. So what we assume is कि sugarcane का 10% recovery sugar होगा, 10% के हिसाब से ही rate है. But if you have more recovery, you will be paid a premium. So 10% हमने average माना के निकलेगा, उसी के हिसाब से price बताया. But if you get more than 10%, for every 0.1% more, you will be paid a premium. So FRP is recovery linked. SAP में ऐसा कोई प्रीमियम नहीं है. FRP is recovery linked. There is a premium on extra recovery over and above the average which we have assumed. In SAP, there is no recovery linked return, only a fixed return which you are going to get. This is why number of committees have recommended, I've asked the states to stop doing this and just follow this, because this is mostly political in nature. FRP of sugarcane is approved by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Is this clear? You need to know the basics of the Indian agriculture market. This is not a difficult question. And FRP is backed by Essential Commodity Act 1955. That means sugarcane is an essential good. Is sugar an essential product? Yes or no? Why do you say no? It's a diabetic though. फिर तो sugarcane को ही control करो. Diabetes means when you consume too much of it. Sugar is an essential good and its prices are also controlled. Whatever sugar is sold in the market, the government announces a minimum selling price. For example, right now it's I think 31 per kg. 31 per kg से कम कोई भी नहीं बेच सकता market में. This was done to protect the mills because every mill is getting the cost at the same. But if someone says start selling at lesser price, उनका market चला जाएगा of number of other mills. They will not be able to pay to the farmers. So government said to stop the unhealthy competition, set up minimum selling price. Brought sugar also under Essential Commodities Act. So right now both sugarcane and sugar are essential commodities under the Essential Commodity Acts, where FRP is the FRP, fair and remunerative price given to farmer, and MSP, that is the minimum selling price of sugar, is something beyond which you cannot sell sugar in the market by the mills. Answer is A. Indian markets in agriculture products are regulated under agriculture markets. It's Essential Commodities Act 55, APMC by states, Agriculture Produce Act 37, Food Order 56, and Meat and Food Product Order 1973. I think this became very famous in 2021. Agriculture marketing is a union, state, or concurrent list subject. Agriculture marketing is a state subject. The 3 farm laws that came in, the first farm law was overriding that because interstate trade and commerce was part of union list. But agriculture marketing, agriculture including agriculture marketing, is a state subject. So answer here would be, and this became famous. APMC, every state has passed. APMC is what does this. Essential Commodities Act. What does essential commodities? Essential commodities, it can have limitations on storage and sale through retailer and wholesaler. This is the first farmer to market, APMC dominated by states. This was an easy question. Only 2 don't have. There they have different laws for again regulating agriculture marketing. For example, if Kerala does not have APMC, उनके पास trading boards हैं, commodity boards हैं. APMC का specific reason ये था, now I can't go into much detail, that the trade between farmer and trader was not regulated. So farmer being more in number, monopsony like situation happens. So farmer के पास 2 problem है. Primary market की हमेशा ये problem रहेगी, whether it is the fisherman or the farmer, that they produce is perishable and they are more in number, traders are less in number. This is called as a monopsony like situation. So how do we protect them? This is where marketing regulations come in. So if agriculture produce marketing law is not produced by state, there are other laws which will regulate the marketing. Regulations different है. APMC's की regulations हर जगह same थी. This is why they were clubbed together under APMC laws. Features were the same. Now most of the states are reforming it. Some states not reforming have completely removed it. But they have other laws to regulate marketing. Marketing सब जगह state controlled है. This is one of the things in the farm protest movement also. Accelerated irrigation benefit program was launched during 96-97 to provide loan assistance to poor farmers. Now, one is if you know the fact, you can solve it. Without knowing the fact, how can you solve this question? If you think irrigation benefit, and if you are giving it in 96, irrigation benefit के लिए farmer क्या करेगा? There can be 2 types of irrigation. One is surface and the other is groundwater. And for groundwater, you would provide money for machines and electricity subsidy. So if you think from the conceptual basis also, will it be given to farmer for loan assistance or will it be given to create the whole irrigation services to the state? is mostly given to the state governments in order to create dams and the irrigation infrastructure. Canal infrastructure ke liye it is not given to the farmer on a loan assistance to poor farmers. This is not true. Command Area Development Program was launched for development of water use efficiency. Command area is mostly the watershed program to improve the water use efficiency. So if you read the basics of irrigation, watershed se better water use efficiency aegi as compared to surface water through canal. Answer here would be 2 only. See, this is a topic which you need to prepare in detail because this topic is already covered in mains. Is bar bhi mains mein question aaya on irrigation. Every few years there are questions on irrigation. Which of the following best describes the main objective of seed village concept? Encouraging the farmers to use their own seeds and discouraging them to buy from others. Now it's saying seed village concept. Feature mushkil hai isme objective, but if you still can guess what makes more sense out of the 4. Involving farmers for training in quality seed production, making quality seeds at appropriate time and affordable cost. Earmarking some villages exclusively for production of certified seeds, identifying the entrepreneurs. The answer here was B. Slightly difficult to prepare. These type of questions, if you can't make sense, you should leave this question. There are certain questions which are offbeat, which you can't prepare, you can't have a strategy for. This is one type of a question. Similar concept this year also there was small farmer, large field. Wo doable tha. This is something which is difficult. Answer here was B. So these type of questions you can skip. This is something which you can't, because this is a lot in news, the insurance program. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Under the scheme, farmers will have to pay a uniform premium of 2% for any crop cultivated any season of the year. So this had different premiums for different crops. Kharif had 1.5, 2 for Kharif, 1.5 for Rabi and 5% for horticulture. So there is no uniform premium. Scheme covers post-harvest losses arising out of cyclones and unseasonal rains. Yes. What exactly was the insurance for? One is the government provides insurance against price fluctuations. What is it called? MSP. Price policy is against market fluctuations. Rest, it's the insurance program. Cyclones and unseasonal rains. Answer here is B. Millet promotion. So last 5 to 10 years, this has been constantly in news. This year, there was a mains question also on why millet promotion. With reference to initiative for nutritional security through intensive millets. Why nutritional security? Nutrient content high hai, glycemic index low hai, and also they are climate resilient. Initiative aims to demonstrate the improved production and post-harvest technologies to demonstrate value addition techniques in an integrated manner with cluster approach. Intensive millets promotion was the major objective. Poor, small, marginal tribal farmers have a larger stake in this scheme. An important objective of the scheme is to encourage farmers of commercial crops to shift to millet cultivation by offering free kits. Now you see 2 and 3 are opposite. हम यहाँ बोल रहे हैं कि commercial farmers को free critical inputs देंगे free, but हमारा main target population is small, marginal and tribal. So out of the 2, only one can be correct. Both of them are saying the opposite thing. So it's very difficult that both of them, क्योंकि आपने target एक को बनाया पर benefit किसी और को दे रहे हो. If you say this is the target, you can, or if you say this is not the target, this is true. Now, if you just know about the basics of millet production, which type of farmers are doing millet production? Why? Input is less. Irrigation, one is cost is less, and the second, they don't have the resources in order to do those crops which are sold in the market, rice and wheat, because connection to the government is very poor. This is why millet production mostly is happening here. Self-consumed है mostly product, market नहीं हो रहा है. That is also one of the reasons. Answer here is 1 and 2. Is it clear? Both the two cannot be correct at the same time. A lot of times in the paper, what we do is, we don't know a question, we don't want to think, तो anxiety दूर करने के लिए 1, 2, 3 mark कर देता है. Just if you think with a cool mind, you will be able to solve all these types of questions. बाहर आके लगता है कि क्या ही सही कर दिया है. उस time पे I just want to reduce my anxiety and solve the question and move to the next. If you just manage this, you will be able to solve. Nationwide soil health card aims at. What is the soil health card scheme? Problem is pollution of soil. Why pollution of soil? Uneven. Why uneven fertilizer use? Because subsidy यूरिया पे ज़्यादा है, बाकी पे नहीं है. This is the problem. Expand the cultivable area under irrigation. Soil health was for irrigation. It has nothing to do with irrigation. Enabling bank to assess the quantum of loans to be granted to farmers on the basis of soil quality. Yes. Do you think banks will anyhow know what is the soil quality and फिर उस पे बताएंगे लोन कितना देना है? Why? Even ज़मीन पे भी क्यों? This is a highly subjective factor. And those who are more in need of the loan will not get a loan because उनकी land quality खराब है. So this cannot be a criteria on which the bank does, and also cannot be soil health card scheme. It's not a scheme with respect to financing of loans in respect to do anything. Checking the overuse of fertilizer. Yes, answer is 3 only. Similar sounding statements doesn't mean that it has sense. We discussed this as part of another question that was your payment and small finance bank. That you want to start entrepreneur in rural areas. Similar sounding statements, but they don't make sense. Just like this one. Answer here is 3 only. So what happens in these type of questions is वो paper में सही लगते हैं, paper के बाद आके पता चलता है वो गलत है. You just have to be calm in the exam environment. Advantages of implementing the national agriculture market. What is ENAM? Which state implemented this scheme first? This became the role model for implementing this. One state did this where it linked all of its APMC for transparency in pricing. It was called as the Regulated Marketplace, RMS, ERMS. It was done by Karnataka government. भूमि project भी वहीं से आया था जिससे land modernization हुआ, and ERMS also, ENAM came from Karnataka. It's a pan-India electronic trading portal for agriculture commodities. It provides farmer access to nationwide market with price commensurate with quality. This is the purpose. Marketing, you can have transparency of price. Does ENAM provide money for infrastructure installation? Infrastructure, for example, computers and other digital infrastructure at the mandi site. Quality check on digital. Yes. So features are all important. You just don't have to confuse कि सिर्फ एक trading portal है. It has a feature of addition of infrastructure also. The quantity of imported edible oil is more than domestic production of edible oil in the last 5 years. If you just know about basics, agriculture commodity which is most imported in the country. Which commodities do we import the most? If you have a general idea about agriculture trade. Do we import rice? It's edible oils and pulses, these 2 items. And exported items? Rice. India is the largest exporter of rice in the world. What else? Marine products. Sugar not so high. Sugar को subsidy दी थी तब वो top 5 आ गया था. Now it's again dropped from the top 5. What else? Yes, meat products. Anything else? The 3rd largest. Spices. You just have a broader idea about the trade profile, you'll be able to solve. Economic survey every year gives this detail. Quantity of is more than domestic production. This is true for almost most of the time in India. Government does not impose any custom duty on all imported oil as a special case. If you read the news, every year this custom duty is changed. कोई ना कोई political factor है. One of the years, the Malaysian Prime Minister made a statement on Kashmir. The government imposed 10% additional duty on edible oil coming from Malaysia. This year, soybean oil, there is an import duty increase because we want to have a more price from one of the states which is having elections. So this is a highly political move on custom duties on edible oil because we have to manage both the price for consumer and sometimes the price for farmers. So this is a highly political thing. इसमें custom duty हमने हटाई नहीं है. Answer is 1. You'll find a lot of news on this custom on edible oil. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has announced MSP for how many of the above? How many crops get MSP? 22 odd crops. Which all crop types are covered? There are food grains. Yes, rice, wheat, millets. Then there are pulses and oil seeds. These are the 3 most. 2 commercial crops. Which one? Is sugar getting MSP? Jute and cotton. Copra, that is again part of one of the crops. Which of the following? Areca nut, barley, coffee, finger millet, groundnut, sesame, turmeric. How can you solve this question? Elimination से हो सकता है question. Commercial crop 2 ही है. Is coffee enjoying MSP? If you eliminate coffee, you'll get the answer. 2, 4, 5, 6. So you'll have to find elimination if you note the broader crops in which it is covered. 3 ही major crops हैं: food grains, pulses and oilseeds. This was a very difficult question, the situation assessment survey of agriculture households. This is a question, if you know the fact, then only you can do this. Otherwise, you have to skip this question. Every year, there would be one question like this where you can't solve with any logic. This is a completely fact-based question. It was a very difficult question. Rajasthan has the highest percentage of agriculture households among its rural households. This is true. Out of total households, little 60% belong to OBC. So you can see what the variety of the question is. एक जगह social group से question पूछा है, देखिए state से पूछा है, and also rural amongst its agriculture households. So this is a question which it cannot be prepared. So you have to skip this. Kerala, 60% of reported received a maximum income from sources other than agriculture activities. Now this was true for maximum India. If you situation assessment said, what is the average income of agriculture household? It's 10,000, out of which maximum comes from activities outside agriculture. If we combine agriculture, that is both cropping and livestock, then it comes out to be 5,500. Otherwise, it's less than 50%. Most of it comes from rural labor. It does not come from agriculture. This shows the state of agriculture, how cropping se remuneration is very weak. This was a fact to be understood as an analysis fact, which you can use in mains, but knowing these three figures would be very difficult. Answer here is 1 and 3. This is not belong 60% to OBCs. There are other groups other than OBCs. ये social से तो बहुत मुश्किल है question. Answer is 1 and 3. Rajasthan and Kerala were correct. This was a question expected because organic farming is in news repeatedly. In 2018, Sikkim became the first fully organic state. The NPOP is operated under the guidelines of Union Ministry of Rural Development. So certification of organic happens through this scheme, that is National Program of Organic Production. So is it under rural development? It's under Ministry of, not in this agriculture, it's Ministry of Commerce. Agriculture Processed Foods, APIDA, functions as the secretariat for implementation. These two are linked, iska implementation APIDA hi karta hai. 1 and 2, 1 is incorrect, 2 and 3 is correct. Answer is P. Organic certification was important. This scheme, National Program for Organic Production, is a third-party verification. There's another scheme for certification of organic produce that is called as Participatory Guarantee Scheme, PGS, जहाँ farmers certify करते हैं whether it is organic or not. यहाँ this is a third-party verification, the NPOP. Two major schemes for organic. Economic cost of food grains to FCI is the minimum price paid to the farmer plus. This is a scheme, this is a thing covered every year in economic survey. Economic cost of food grain is increasing. Now what happens in the PDS chain? Most of the food grains for distribution under the PDS are collected by FCI. FCI is the agency which does this function under the centralized procurement scheme. We have a decentralized where states can also do it. FCI will give this to states and they charge something called as central issue price. States give it to the fair price shop and it goes to the beneficiary. Beneficiary to the fair price shop is your issue price. Now FCI takes it from farmer, and what does the FCI pay? FCI pays the MSP. Now what exactly is the food subsidy burden for FCI or the central government? FCI has paid what? MSP. Along with that, FCI has the function of distribution. And when the FCI is going to go to the farmer, it is not just the MSP which it is paying. वहाँ जाने का और procurement का भी खर्चा है. This is called as your procurement cost. And distribution cost will also include a cost for, because it is having buffer. This component is what is my outgoing, and what does the FCI receive? Minus this is what is my food subsidy. Every year economic survey you will find complaints that this figure is going up, but this figure is not. In fact, अब इस figure को हमने zero कर दिया है. Earlier it was as per NFSA, what was CIP? What was the money being charged by the center from the states? 3 rupees per kg for rice, 2 for wheat and 1 for coarse grains. Now this figure has been made 0. Last year the government made this figure as 0. What is the CIP and IP? Would these be equal? On CIP, I will have distribution cost within the state, and I will also have to pay a certain amount of margin to this person who is running this shop. This is the retail margin. This becomes the IP. In order to make this equal to this, these two cost components are paid by center to state. Every year center tells this is the distribution and retail margin which you have to pay. The money will come from them. This is why if this is 0, this is also 0. तभी वो उसी rate पे आगे जाता है. Now in this, what is the cost of the grains to FCI? MSP plus distribution plus procurement. What is the economic cost of food grains? MSP plus bonus if paid, procurement and distribution. Understand the basics of food security, how exactly the cost is decided, because this cost has become a major issue in the last 5 to 7 years. Because this component keeps on increasing, ये नहीं change हो रहा है. Who decides CIP? Who can decide CIP? It's the central government which determines CIP as per the NFSA Act of 2013. And the other feature which they have added here is this CIP cannot never be more than MSP. That means FCI cannot be a profit making body. आप ये नहीं है कि फार्मर से कम में लो और स्टेट्स को ज़्यादा में दो. CIP can never be in more than MSP. And this CIP was fixed at 3:1 by NFSA only. NFSA said the price will be 3:1 for the next 3 years, after which you can change it, but you cannot make it more than MSP. ज़्यादा तो क्या कर रहा है गवर्नमेंट ने, कम ही कर दिया है. It has made it to 0. Answer is C. Basics of food security, this would be clear. In case if the states do it and do not take it from MSP, from FCI, ऐसा हो सकता है. This is a centralized procurement program. There's another scheme which was introduced in 97 called decentralized program, where the states will take directly from the farmer and then give it to the beneficiary. This is also done. That states are not taking from FCI but are doing it directly. If they're doing it directly, who will pay the price of this? Then why will the state do it? It will take it from center. If the states do it directly, the money comes from center only. Food security, the center has taken the complete burden. It's a 100% centrally funded scheme. तो अगर state directly भी करते हैं तो भी सारा पैसा center देता है. But that is already decided how much center will pay, because sometimes states can pay more than MSP. तो more than MSP का पैसा कभी नहीं मिलेगा. Already cost basis पे decided है कि this is much we are going to pay. This is the decentralized procurement. Answer is C. Basics again. Yes, it is definitely a better program, because then FCI will not have the complete burden. तभी हमने introduce किया था वो. This is why do you think which state has the maximum procurement right now for rice or wheat? For wheat, which state has the maximum procurement? MP, Madhya Pradesh. Comparable है Punjab, Haryana, because वो traditionally they have been very high states, but a lot of states are picking up on procurement of both. In fact, if you see, how could the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh never face anti-incumbency for the last 20 years? 4 term हो गई उनकी repeat. All because of what he did with procurement. He made procurement digitized, that mobile से पता चल जाता कब आएंगे कब लेंगे. Decentralized procurement था, and he gave very good rates for soybean also. A lot of other crops apart from the rice and wheat. उनका procurement तो farmers तक better हुआ ही. And this plus third benefit was the accelerated the irrigation benefit which he provided throughout Madhya Pradesh. Farmers से ही election जीता उन्होंने सारे. करते हैं a lot of states, but if the states don't have the capacity to do so, then for example marketing facility भी तो होनी चाहिए ना. Madhya Pradesh has a very good infrastructure of mandi. Apart from mandi, they created an infrastructure where they could procure directly from villages. Now states if don't have the infrastructure, how will they get the procurement? Marketing करने की capacity भी तो हो, तो फिर उन्हें FCI से लेना पड़ता सब. Among the following, which of the following is the largest exporter of rice in the world? This is a common thing. It is India. India का largest export both basmati and non-basmati rice. India is the largest exporter of rice in the world. At present, retail price of chemical fertilizers is market driven and not administered by government. Who decides the price of fertilizer, and what is the subsidy pattern in fertilizer? Does the government decide the price? Yes, of what fertilizer? There is two types of policy. For N-based fertilizer, that is urea, the maximum retail price is decided by government, and subsidy becomes whatever is the manufactured cost minus the MRP. This is paid by the government as subsidy. कितने का बिकेगा यूरिया, ये already government decided है. For other fertilizers, that is PNK. What is the phosphorus fertilizer in India? The major phosphorus fertilizer. Diammonia, phosphate and single superphosphate. These are the two major fertilizer. DAP major है. And K, potassium, it is muriate of potash. ये fertilizer India में बिल्कुल भी नहीं बनता. This is completely imported. For these two fertilizers, the government policy is called as nutrient-based subsidy. In this, the subsidy is fixed based on per kg of nutrient, and prices for the fertilizer is free. वहाँ prices government fixed है, subsidy vary करती है. यहाँ subsidy fixed है, prices vary करता है. This was a reform introduced in the year 2010. Nutrient-based subsidy. At present, retail price of chemical fertilizer is market-driven. It is market-driven for these two, but it is government-driven through urea. So this statement is not correct. Urea ke liye it is government and not market-driven. Ammonia, which is an input of urea, is produced from natural gas. This is also a urea policy in India. There were 3 new urea policies being introduced by the government. Focus of all 3 was that this urea, iska feedstock ho sakta hai. One is naphtha and the other is natural gas. Naphtha is one of the constituents of crude oil, and naphtha is highly polluting in nature. So government gave incentives to the units to shift from naphtha to natural gas. 3 units ही हैं जो अब naphtha में, they are also converting to natural gas. So ammonia, which is an input of urea, is produced from natural gas. This question is also, you should know, because the urea policy ही थी कि you need to shift from naphtha to natural gas. Sulfur, which is a raw material for phosphoric acid, is a byproduct of oil refineries. Crude say there is one major product that comes out, that is sulfur. This is a basic statement. This is true. Answer here is 2 and 3. Is it clear? This question should not be difficult. Third statement. First 2 are technical, which you need to know. This is the basics of fertilizer subsidy in the country. In fact, this is also in news. Why? Because just phosphoric acid hai. Phosphoric acid based जो fertilizers हैं, DAP and SSP, India does not have a lot of production, and even if India has a production, वो phosphoric acid भी बाहर से आता है. Russia, Ukraine में prices increase because this product comes from those 2 countries. So both the raw material and the final product we import, not completely, because raw material से कुछ हम DAP बना लेते हैं, but MOP तो completely is imported. We don't have any production of potash in the country. Urea also is coming from outside, including some domestic production. In India, which of the following can be considered as public investment in agriculture? What do you understand by investment? Definition of investment. What? Consumption, investment, in सबकी definition की होगी ना, basics. What is investment? Investment is also referred to as, that is addition to capital goods. That means addition to asset. What is the definition of asset? Something which gives a future benefit. Capital good is an asset because capital goods are future benefit. Sorry. Capital good का मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of capital good? Something which is used in production but not consumed. So investment is nothing but addition to capital goods. Is it clear? Fixing MSP for agriculture produce. Are we building any capital good when we give MSP? This is not a public investment. Computerization of packs. If I bring in more computers in the packs, am I building capital good? Computer is a fixed capital. Social capital development. Just wait for this. Free electricity supply. When I give free electricity supply, that means I'm not charging for electricity, but am I building anything asset? Waiver of agriculture loans by the banking system. If I waive loans, that means I'm not taking in money. Am I building capital good? Setting up of cold storage facility. If we have a broader meaning of investment, it's in not just improvement of capital goods, it can also be said of human capital and social capital. Capital three forms hai: physical capital, human capital and social capital. Human capital is what? We discussed this in the first session. Skill, knowledge and healthcare in which people invest in and accumulate over the period of life. Social capital? The trust and harmony within the society is its social capital. So if we eliminate one, we get the answer here. The answer is 2, 3 and 6. Investment is just addition to capital. Answer is 2, 3 and 6. 3 and 6. This is why we say support should be in the form of something which builds capital and not in the form of revenue. The other three are revenue, subsidies, all of them. MSP is the type of support which is revenue support. Waiving of electricity bill or waiving of loans, all of them are a revenue expenditure of the government which does not build anything substantial. Ye substantial building hai. This is what is investment. Which of the factors were affecting price of India in the recent past? How is the price of any commodity decided? It's based on market supply and demand. Market supply and demand can be controlled by MSP. How? If the government gives more price, the supply will reduce, the price will go up. Government trading, same. Government trading happens at MSP. Government stockpiling. Again, I'll buy it MSP or I will stock it at MSP. Both the prices are same. Consumer subsidies. Government can give the rice at lesser prices, can have an impact on outside market price. All of the four are correct. It's a very basic question, not anything technical here. Another on scheme, Kisan Credit Card. Short-term credit support is given to the farmers for which of the following? So if you see, the answer somewhere lies in this one, the statement itself. The question is saying, now short-term credit can be given for working capital. Working capital is which is used in daily, day-to-day purposes. Purchase of combined harvesters, tractors and mini trucks. ये थोड़ा मुश्किल है, short term. Consumption requirement of farm households. Consumption requirement is similar to working capital. Post-harvest expense and construction of family house and setting up of village storage. This and 2 and 5 can be difficult because it is asking about short term. You have solved this question without even knowing what Kisan Credit does. The problem in the exam is कि जल्दी करना है question. If you just think in the exam from the statement itself, you can get the answer. So if you eliminate 5 and eliminate 2, you'll get the answer 1, 3, 4. 5 elimination se bhi ho jayega. This. And now if you don't read the statement carefully, so why a lot of people got this wrong? Because they were thinking whether consumption requirement hoga ke nahi hoga. You don't have to think so much here, you have to think only on, because statement ने बोल दिया आपको short term credit है, तो short term credit में आप long term infrastructure कैसे बनाओगे? Short term credit is mostly for working capital or these type of expenses. If you just work on this, this would not be a confusion. This clearly says combined harvesters, mini trucks and also village storage, ये दोनों long term expenditures हैं. It's not short term credit. In the case of all cereals, pulses and oilseeds, the procurement at MSP is unlimited. Is the government taking unlimited procurement for any crop in the country? Yes or no? Yes, there is an unlimited procurement if you satisfy the minimum quality norms. If the minimum quality norms are satisfied, India has open procurement for rice and wheat. Rice and wheat mein, the whatever quantity the farmer brings, the government will not say no, provided they fulfill the minimum quantity or quality norms which are. Or minimum quality mein mostly moisture ka hi problem hota hai. If that is satisfied, they will take all rice and wheat, but not all cereals, pulses, oilseeds. I told you MSP 3 major category pe hai: cereal, pulses and oilseeds pe. Case of cereals and pulses, MSP is fixed in a state to the level at which market price will never rise. What is the meaning of MSP? Or why was MSP started? minimum. So we wanted to give the farmers a minimum so that the price will not fall below this. It was not the maximum कि इसके ऊपर नहीं जाएगा, इसके ऊपर तो जाएगा, वो तो बेनिफिट है ही. अगर बाय चांस मार्केट आपको कुछ भी नहीं दे पा रहा तो ये मिनिमम आप गवर्नमेंट से ले लो. The whole price protection was that we will give you a protection against market fluctuations in price. कि आपको एक मिनिमम मिलेगा जिसके नीचे प्राइस नहीं जाएगा. Why? Because we will buy at minimum. Doesn't mean the price cannot go up. Price can definitely go up. This is why this statement is incorrect. Answer here is B. If you understand the basic meaning of MSP, this is not a difficult statement. It's a MSP is a floor price, not a ceiling price. Maximum नहीं है, minimum है. And if the price goes below MSP, can the prices go below MSP? Why no? फ्लोर प्राइस है बट देयर इज नो लीगल बैकिंग टू इट. अगर मुझे नहीं मिलता गवर्नमेंट से तो मुझे तो उससे कम में ही बेचना पड़ सकता है. व्हाई डू यू थिंक फार्मर्स आर डिमांडिंग लीगल बैकिंग? व्हाट इज द रीजन फॉर डिमांडिंग अ लीगल बैकिंग टू एमएसपी? बिकॉज दे आर नॉट गेटिंग एमएसपी. अगर फ्लोर लीगली मैंडेटेड है तभी वो मिलेगा. Right now the market price can go above MSP, can be below MSP also, can be equal to MSP also. Market price can go anywhere because we are not having any legal compulsion on the trader to buy it at any price. Government for 22 crops will buy, that too also is not open. The market price can definitely go below MSP. If the government does not take rice wheat के अलावा government कौन सा crop ले रही है? So that's on just a paper. There's no legal guarantee that the government will take. This is what the farmers are demanding. For example, NFS is a legal guarantee. So if you do not get food from the PDS shop, what will happen? You can go to court. Before that, the government gives a compensation also. Center government एक formula बनाया compensation का, इतने पैसे देने पड़ेंगे अगर grain नहीं पहुंचा. In fact, central government has taken the responsibility that we'll deliver grain to you, you should deliver it to the people. If that does not happen, the person can go and complain to the digital grievance redressal cell. Then there's a state food commission. नहीं है तो फिर you can go to the court, you can get money. All of those are provided. MSP में nothing is provided. In terms of short-term credit delivery to the agriculture sector, delivers more credit. So there are two types of banks in the country. One is a commercial bank, and the other is scheduled commercial is one type of commercial bank. Scheduled cooperatives bhi hai. And the other is cooperative. What is the difference? Cooperatives are not regulated by RBI. Difference, conceptual difference क्या है? Commercial bank works for the benefit of its stakeholders, the shareholders of the bank. It's a profit-oriented organization. Cooperatives are member or organizations which work for the benefit of the members, where each member has an equal share. ये member run organizations है अपने members को benefit देने के लिए. This is the shareholder run organization for the benefits of shareholder. This is more profit oriented. This is more member oriented. Commercial bank can be public, can be private, and also can be foreign banks. This year they've asked a question on foreign banks. Cooperatives are of two types based on the area they operate in. One is urban and the other is rural cooperatives. Urban cooperatives are also called as primary or urban cooperative banks. Primary cooperatives or urban cooperative banks, they are a single structure. Rural cooperatives are of two types, for short-term credit and for long-term credit, which is called as land development bank. Developmental purposes for long-term land development bank. Short-term credit rural mein, it is a three-tiered structure. At the lowest level, what is it called? Primary Agriculture Credit Society. At the above level, it is called District Central Cooperative Bank, and at the above level, it is called as State Cooperative. तो अगर किसी पैक्स को हेल्प चाहिए उसको डिस्ट्रिक्ट से पैसे मिलते हैं, किसी डिस्ट्रिक्ट को हेल्प चाहिए उसको स्टेट से पैसे मिलते हैं. अगर स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव को हेल्प चाहिए तो yes, it is held by NABARD. NABARD is the one which helps the rural cooperatives. Similarly, land development banks are also two-tiered structure. It is the primary cooperative agricultural rural development bank, and above is the state cooperative agricultural rural development bank. ये स्ट्रक्चर है बैंकिंग का. Who regulates primary and urban cooperative banks? The banking functions are regulated by RBI, and the management functions are regulated by state government. Who regulates the short-term credit and long-term credit? See, these two are mostly under control of RBI, but PAX RBI control नहीं है, PAX state government ही है, और इनके लिए भी since RBI is stretched on resources, RBI gives the functions to NABARD. So we say regulated by NABARD but supervised by, regulated by RBI but supervised by NABARD. Regulated by RBI but supervised by NABARD. फंक्शन हमारा हमने आपको डेलीगेट कर दिया बिकॉज हमारे पास रिसोर्स नहीं है. पैक्स इज नॉट बाय आरबीआई, रेस्ट ऑल. और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का हर जगह रोल है बिकॉज मैनेजमेंट ऑफ ऑल कोऑपरेटिव्स इज डन बाय स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. So it's a dual regulatory structure. Now, in terms of short-term credit delivery to agriculture, district central cooperative banks deliver more credit in comparison to scheduled commercials and RRBs. Now, if you read the statement, you don't have any idea about credit distribution. This is a bank which is done for profit purposes, and this is a bank which helps its members. Out of the two, structure किसका बड़ा होगा? Why? Because deposits ज़्यादा यहाँ आएंगे. Because this is member oriented. Cooperative banks can take deposits from anyone, but member को ही loans देता है. This is what is member function. या members को ही loan मिलेंगे, deposits किसी से भी. So if someone has to make a deposit, it's more likely to make a deposit in commercial. It is not likely to make in cooperative. In fact, this was the problem why we created RRB. RRB का क्यों creation है? Because commercial bank do not understand need of the people in rural areas, but cooperative banks don't have resource. तो commercial समझ नहीं रहे हैं, resource है. Cooperative do not have the resource but can understand the needs. So combination of these two was formed under RRB. Now I have to give resource to the RRB because cooperatives did not have RRB. So how did I give the resource? I distributed it between center, state and sponsor. Center has the responsibility. Right now you can reduce of the state also. आप center का रखोगे, you can get this also. Sorry, I think it's center 50. Center 50 and sponsor is 35. This is what the structure is. So उसके resource हो गया. Now how do I make them understand the needs of the people? I said cooperative और commercial का combination है RRB. तो उनका resource हमने sort कर दिया by giving them the money from center and state and sponsor. And who's the sponsor? Which bank? Public sector bank. The famous name for these banks is called Grameen banks. इनका हर किसी का स्पॉन्सर है, कोई पीएनबी, कोई एसबीआई. एवरीवन हैज अ पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक एज अ स्पॉन्सर. सो नाउ आई हैव गिवन द रिसोर्स स्ट्रेंथ. हाउ विल आई make them understand the need and feel of the rural areas or people who want it? Yes, one is I have made their priority sector lending target as 75. Anything else? Yes, branch regulation. The areas in which they can operate is decided by the government of India. Where they can function, where they can open a branch is completely regulated by the government. So now I can understand the needs and also have the resource. This is what was created by the RRB Act of 1976, recommended by Narasimham Working Group in 1975, because both of them had issues. ये समझ नहीं रहे हैं, इनके पास resource नहीं है. Now if I know the meaning of cooperatives I know don't have a lot of resource. Can cooperative give maximum credit as compared to commercial and RRB? So ज़्यादा credit will flow from this and not from cooperative. This statement is incorrect. So if I know the meaning only, I'll be able to solve the question without knowing the fact. One of the most important function is to provide funds to PACs. So if I understand the structure, उनका function ही 3-tiered है कि district will provide help to primary. This is answer is 2 only. You just have to know how the banks are structured. ये fact नहीं पता होना तब भी हो जाएगा. Because you know the structure. Cooperative ज़्यादा पैसा कभी भी commercial से नहीं दे सकते. Development of land. I have to convert the unfertile land into improve its fertility. तो ग्रामीण बैंक्स ही हैं जो ये लॉन्ग टर्म डेवलपमेंट दे रहे हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू वुड नॉट हैव हर्ड ऑफ इन द बैंक्स इटसेल्फ यू हैव डिफरेंट ब्रांचेस. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू वांट टू टेक अ लोन, इट इज कॉल्ड एज अ रिटेल एसेट हब. तो होम लोन्स के लिए भी उनकी सेपरेट ब्रांच होती है. इट्स लाइक सेम, उसका पर्पस लॉन्ग टर्म है कि मेरे को या तो आई नीड टू लेवल अप द लैंड, आई नीड मोर मनी, आई नीड टू इंप्रूव द फर्टिलिटी ऑफ लैंड, आई नीड मोर मनी. शॉर्ट टर्म वर्किंग पर्पसेस के लिए ये काम करते हैं पैक्स एंड ऑल. Yes, this question. Concept of small farmer, large field. What is the biggest problem in India with respect to farming? There are three major issues. One is India has too much farmers. The other is fragmented land because we have small size fragmented lands because we have not removed the people out of agriculture. So family by family वो land fragment होता जा रहा है. Now if the farmer is small, what is the problem? I cannot increase the production beyond a point and cannot increase the productivity beyond a point. So how do I solve it? By consolidation. Community farming mostly through cooperatives. Cooperatives, now the government is saying cooperative was a failed exercise, so don't register your name in the cooperatives. आप marketing और finance करा लो FPO बना के. Cooperatives and now a marketing structure through farmer producer organization. Both cooperatives and FPOs are nothing but small farmer, large field. The name itself has changed. You pool all the farmers together, you pool their resources and they work together so that the small farmer का field large हो जाए. This was practiced successfully in Vietnam. Odisha tried to copy it. This is why this term was in news. Otherwise also, if you don't know the news, if you know the problems of agriculture, you can relate to this question. This is many marginal farmers together to make a contract with a corporate body. This is what an FPO does. And surrender their land to the corporate body for which makes a payment to the agreed amount to the farmers. तो हमने pool करके resources और land को बड़ा कर लिया. This is what cooperatives, FPO all are solving the same problem. See, this is what the Indian Express article says. Unique small farmer, large field. Economies of scale reduce the cost of production.
Completing the syllabus without proper knowledge of current affairs will not take you far in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Regulate and transform your preparation with complete coverage of news of relevance. Get a concrete hold of current affairs for UPSC CSE with Vision IS Monthly Current Affairs Revision Program starting from 20th September at 5 p.m. The program is your guide to get comprehensive news on one platform sourced through relevant resources such as The Hindu, Indian Express, Economic Times, PIB, Yojana and others. Enroll for complete coverage of current affairs including Indian polity and constitution, economy, international relations and more. Comprehensive assessment of preparation through MCQs and mains-oriented questions. Expert support through personalized mentoring and online doubt resolution.
Government of India provides MSP for Niger seeds. MSP question already 18 में आ चुका है. Crops पूछी हैं, so you have to have an idea which crops are covered. It is cultivated as a kharif crop. This was slightly difficult. Some tribal people in India use Niger seed for cooking. Some made it easy. So 1 and 3 would be done. 2 would be difficulty. Answer is all 3. This is a slightly difficult question, but Niger seed should be known because MSP already that asked in 2018. And if you're covering the news, this was covered. Down to Earth Indian Express, all of them were covering Niger seed. All the 3 are correct. This down to earth is a very good source if you want to prepare for environment, ecology and also agriculture economics. इससे बहुत questions आते हैं in prelims. Next is industries. Most of the questions of industries you'll find in Indian yearbook. In index of 8 core industries, which of the following is given the highest weight? What is index of 8 core industries? For example, there's another index. There are 2 indexes here which are measuring something. One is, what is IIP? The other is index of core industries. ये 2 हैं. What do they measure? They measure the volume of production in different industries. And these indices are not working on a complete average. Like हर industry का same weight नहीं है. Based on the significance of the industry, we assign certain weights to them. Just like we discussed in CPI, this measures the volume or you can say quantity of production. तो हम growth measure कर सकते हैं over a period of time, index की क्या performance है. Volume or quantity of production when we measure across industries, all of the industries don't carry the same weight. Industries have been given different weights based on their significance. And these 2 are separate indices. Indices same नहीं है. For example, in 8 core industries का IIP में 40% weight है. this is part of this. This is a bigger index. 8 core industries which we include separately, they have a 40% weight in IIP. Core production, electricity generation, fertilizer and steel. Maximum is electricity generation. We have a broader idea. Maximum is electricity, minimum is fertilizer. Based on the significance, electricity generation. Basics of industry. District Mineral Foundation. What are the purposes of District Mineral Foundation? Any idea what is District Mineral Foundation? Amendment introduced in the Act. What is the Act respect to mining in India? The Mining and Mineral Regulation and Development Act of 1957, I think. 54 or 57 का act है ये. Amendment was made in 2015. And one welfare feature was introduced which was called as the District Mineral Foundation. Under this District Mineral Foundation, wherever mining will take place, any problem that happens to the district, in the people of the district, adjoining districts also, will be covered from the contributions made under the District Mineral Foundation. So this was a news. This is why I acted in 2016 because 2015 में amendment हुआ था. Promotes mineral exploration activities in mineral-rich district. This is incorrect. In fact, there was another fund created. So 2 funds were created. One for development of minerals and the other was for protection of people. Protecting the interest of the persons affected by mining operations. Authorizing to issue licenses for mineral exploration. Answer is 2 only. In fact, this DMF has also been news because a lot of states' funds are unutilized. So last year, the central government passed an amendment where central government said states are not able to use DMF funds, we will use them directly. So this was created as a problem by the states कि हम use करेंगे, not the union government. This was a controversy on District Mineral Foundation. Answer is 2 only. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Very easy. Mudra Yojana is providing funds to bringing the small entrepreneurs into the formal finance system. MSME के लिए loans की scheme थी, the Mudra Yojana scheme. With reference to foreign-owned e-commerce firms, very interesting question. Which of the following statement is or are correct? Now, if you know foreign-owned e-commerce firm is, इसी से question करते हैं. वैसे Flipkart is also foreign-owned now. Foreign-owned e-commerce, they can sell their own goods in addition to offering their platform as marketplaces. Now, what type of regulation do we have on e-commerce? There are 2 types of e-commerce model. One is inventory model and the other is marketplace. 2019 say this thing has been in news continuously. Right now also last month this was in news. Why? Has anyone heard about e-commerce in news in the last 1 month or so? Piyush Goyal again attacked all of these networks because what he believes is retail stores, जो small mom and pop stores हैं, उनका business ये खत्म कर रहे हैं because of the large discounts they give, where the government already has regulation. Multi-brand retail में India has not crossed 51% because we think that if Walmart comes to India, all of these stores will be destroyed. E-commerce is doing the same thing, where we still have regulation, but they are flouting the norms very regularly. Now, what norms we have? Inventory means the company can sell own goods. That means they have control over inventory. They are also a seller on their own platform. Marketplace means they are only providing the platform for seller and buyer. That means they are not the seller. Inventory में वो seller भी हो सकता है. India does not allow this model. India only allows marketplace. Now this was a clarification given earlier in 2015-16 itself. So this statement was known before that they cannot sell their own goods. क्योंकि India में inventory model नहीं है, they cannot sell their own goods. Now what the companies did was, they did not sell it directly. They started opening up companies which would then sell products. तो उन्होंने seller खुद नहीं बने, उन्होंने कंपनी में अपना शेयर लिया. For example, Cloudtail is such company. WS Retail, Flipkart does it. There's another company right now, if you see, they're still flouting norms. It is called Appario. Most of your products from Amazon comes from Appario or Cloudtail. और ये दोनों Appario और Cloudtail are owned by, there is some sharing of Amazon in it. Now this is something they do not allow. So first was they cannot sell directly, this is clear. Now 2019 the government came out with a regulation, a change in e-commerce guidelines, where they said that Amazon cannot have any ownership in any of the sellers also. That means this is also not allowed. So this statement that the degree to which they can own big sellers on their platform is limited, it's not limited, it is not allowed. It's not limited that you can own 10%, 20%. It's completely not allowed. So both the statements are incorrect, because when Amazon has a stake here, why this is a problem if Amazon becomes a seller? There's a conceptual reason behind this. Why are we not allowing Amazon as a direct seller or indirect seller also? How will they destroy the competition? अपने प्रोडक्ट्स पे स्पेशल डिस्काउंट देगा कैसे? अगर वो प्रोडक्ट पहले ही सस्ता बिकता है तो अमेजोन सस्ता और कैसे बेचेगा? The biggest problem is that platform has all the information of the buyer. So platform knows किस एरिया में किस चीज की डिमांड है, सिर्फ वो प्रोडक्ट खुद बना के उस एरिया में बेच देगा. For example, in India, they know that in northern areas, this is the product which sells the maximum. So I will start the production of only those products. I'll not have production of everything. सिर्फ मैं अपना AC ही बताऊंगा उस एरिया में, क्योंकि मुझे पता है इस एरिया में AC बिकता है. So this information is not with all sellers. It is only with my seller only. So this is what distorts the competition big time. Now this is a beneficial for the consumer, but this is a very big loss to sellers. Because I have the information, I have the visibility on the sellers. दोनों चीजें मेरे कंट्रोल में है किस सेलर को सबसे ऊपर दिखाऊं. Why do they say Amazon's choice? You will find most of the Amazon choice is a product made by Amazon, which they will call as Amazon Essentials. वो essential कैसे पता चले उन्हें थे लोगों के? क्योंकि उनके पास बहुत सारी मार्केट इंफॉर्मेशन आ रही है. This is how, if you read, how did Bezos create such a big business? Because when Bezos started selling books, he knew that money was in the publishing business. तो उसने खुद का publishing house खोल दिया. This is how he captured all of the markets differently, because he himself became a seller everywhere and used this information from the platform where he was getting, which others did not. So first, by regulation, we have destroyed this. Then another thing which government has done is created a platform called ONDC. आपकी visibility भी हम खत्म करवाएंगे वहाँ पे, क्योंकि right time you can see the visibility, Zomato can control the visibility, everyone can control who can sell. This is how they are charging the sellers for more visibility, selling their ads. ONDC destroys everything. But ONDC will not work until and unless all sellers are ready to sell here and also consumers are coming. जब तक ये effective delivery नहीं होगा, जब तक इसमें volume नहीं बढ़ेगा लोगों का. Magic Pin, for example, is ONDC. All of the things together. It's not just one service, everything you can buy. So everything is related to more competition. If you read about Amazon, how did it become so big? By just selling books, making the publishers, sellers to buyers. You'll find out कि उन्होंने sellers सारे ही खत्म कर दिए क्योंकि खुद ही publishing house बन गए. This is what we want to stop. This is why you'll find a lot of time statement made by Minister of Commerce and Industry, because he knows India has a very big network of small sellers. उनको already problem हो रही है from bigger customers, including online players. They can't match the discounts which they are getting because इनके पास cost नहीं है. Cost is less. There the small players have a lot of cost. In fact, if you see quick commerce का business भी इसलिए चल रहा है because of dark stores, Blinkit and all. Answer is D. हाँ, तो वो कैसे पता कि वही बेसिक बनाए? How did the Amazon decide Amazon Basics or Amazon Essentials? Because Amazon could read the consumer data कि यही सबसे ज़्यादा बिकता है, तो मैं फ़ोन के कवर ही बनाना शुरू कर देता हूँ. Whenever a phone cover maker will start his business, he will study the whole market. But if Amazon knows कि दिल्ली में ही लोग सबसे ज़्यादा फ़ोन बेचते हैं, तो मैं यहीं पे एक प्रोडक्शन यूनिट बना के यहीं पे फ़ोन का प्रोडक्ट शुरू कर दूंगा. Because I collected market information, I had the benefit of it. This is what I'm saying. It's flouting the norms. If Amazon is still selling the product, what it is done mostly, it is selling through different sellers. तो Amazon का प्रोडक्ट है पर बेच कोई और रहा है. Amazon खुद नहीं बेच रहा है. This is the difference. So this moving in gray space. ये भी उन्होंने बताई नहीं हुई है कि कैसे इन्वेस्टमेंट के. It's not very direct investment Amazon has made in this. It's all routed and it is believed कि Amazon ही शेयर होल्डर है यहाँ पर. Why will Amazon provide that? So that will be counted if I'm storing someone else's product more than 25% of my total sales. So for example, I'm selling Samsung ACs. If my total sales in a month are more than 25% of Samsung ACs only, then I will be counted as inventory. 25% की लिमिट है, जब मैं किसी और का प्रोडक्ट अपनी सेल्स में 25% से ज़्यादा रख रहा हूँ तब मैं उसका इन्वेंट्री हो जाएगा. दिस हैज बीन गिवन अंडर द रेगुलेशंस इन 2019. E-commerce rules in 1920. Yes. According to MSME Act 2006, medium enterprises are those with investment in plant between 15 and 25 crores. For medium, this is quite small, 50 to 250 crores. All bank loans to MSME qualify under PSL. All bank, if are under MSME Act, will be qualifying under priority sector lending. Both of them basics about MSME in India. All of them are priority sector. Answer is B. Corporate social responsibility. What do you understand by CSR? 2%. CSR का मतलब तो ये है कि हर कंपनी को एक सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. दे आर टेकिंग थिंग्स फ्रॉम द एनवायरमेंट मच बियॉन्ड द बेनिफिट विच दे आर क्रिएटिंग, बोथ एनवायरमेंट एंड द सोसाइटी एट लार्ज. Though this is a moral obligation of the companies, in India it has also been made as a legal obligation. India is the only country to have a legal obligation towards the society by the companies. CSR rules specify that expenditures that benefit the company directly or its employees will not be considered as CSR. So when I say society, it doesn't mean that I benefit my own self. This distorts the meaning. One is correct. I cannot benefit my own company. CSR rules do not specify minimum spending. Do they specify benefit spending? Beyond a particular profit, you have to spend 2% of the profit on that activity. So minimum spending is given. Answer would be A only. I cannot spend on my employees and it should be. Infrastructure. With reference to National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, which of the following statement is incorrect? What is this fund? Any idea? So a lot of times what governments do is, in order to promote any particular activity, government creates something called as a sovereign wealth fund. If I want to invest in particular sectors, infrastructure, high technology sectors, government wants to promote the sector by giving in money directly to companies or doing it directly. Then they establish something called as sovereign wealth fund. A lot of companies do this sovereign wealth fund when they have excess amount of foreign exchange reserves. Out of those reserves, they create a fund and then use this fund for investment in other countries or bring imports in the country. What India has done is, India has created a quasi-sovereign wealth fund, and that fund is called as National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. Because in India, what we have seen is, problem is infrastructure के लिए पैसा नहीं आ रहा है. In fact, if you read about the NPA problem, banks were financing that became a major issue. So government created a quasi-several sovereign wealth fund. Why it is quasi? Because government shareholding was only 49% of it. Total fund was created of 40,000 crore, in which the government contributed 20,000 crore. Rest investment can come from domestic investors or investors outside India. This is what the nature of sovereign wealth fund, quasi एक ही sovereign wealth fund है इंडिया में, that is National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. It is an organ of Niti Aayog. We discuss the whole genesis and meaning of Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has nothing to do with this. It's a corpus of 4 lakh crore at present. Corpus was 40,000 crore, out of which 20,000 crore came from the government. Both of the statements are incorrect. Can be used for NIP. इसके 3 funds हैं, master fund, fund of funds, and there is another fund. So there are putting money through different vehicles. NIP में भी पैसे यहाँ से आ सकते हैं. NIP is a broader program for investment and infrastructure. Money can come from multiple sources. This type of information, again, newspaper or yearbook, infrastructure chapter. वहां से पैसा आता है ना, उस पैसे को we can use. The ports and their classification. The Kamarajar port, first major port in India, registered as a company. So in the last few years, Government of India is trying to move from port trust to register it as a company, called as corporatization. We are trying to do this for most of the ports. Kamarajar port, also known as Ennore port, is the only port registered as a company. बाकी सब trust है. Mundra port, largest privately owned port in India. This is in news. Visakhapatnam, largest container port. This is JNPT. Jawaharlal Nehru, Western pe hi mostly trade is what is happening. JNPT. Answer is 2 pairs are correct, 1 and 2. Again, this type of information also in the yearbook. When all types of these facts coming from that. This was a difficult question, though news, but this is something difficult to solve. You can skip this type of a question. Which of the following have been constructed as greenfield projects? What are greenfield projects? You started from the scratch. Only these two. The Polo Airport and Kushinagar were greenfield. Vijayawada International Port was an expansion. This was not a greenfield. Answer is 1 and 2. Where is this Donyo Polo Airport? Arunachal Pradesh. Kushinagar? Is it Bihar? Kushinagar should be known from so many perspectives. Buddha ka wo hai. Was he born in Kushinagar? Why is Kushinagar famous for? Huh? Death, Mahaparinirvan happened in Kushinagar. In fact, if you see, it's a famous international airport because Kushinagar se domestic tourist nahi hai, foreign tourist bahut zyada hai. A lot of people from outside. I mean, Kushinagar has a lot of development because of foreign tourists. A number of temples from different governments outside India. With reference to Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited, which of the following statement is correct? Again, the source of this question is India Yearbook. Most of the industry and services question you will find coming from directly from there. Inka relevance coming from newspaper is very less. Inka mention nahi tha kahin bhi usme. But basic source is Yearbook. It's a public limited government company and it's an NBFC. Both are correct. It is an NBFC being a public limited government company. So it's loans for renewable energy. Which one of the following is the purpose of Uday, a scheme of the government? Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana. What was happening under Uday? Providing for financial turnaround and revival of power distribution company. What was the meaning? Why did the government do this? Iska Uday 2.0 bhi aaya tha. What was happening under Uday? Problem was that state discoms in India are highly indebted. They have significant amount of debt. So what the government said was, जब तक debt है, इनका कुछ improvement नहीं होगा. And if they do not improve, we have a very big problem of power coming to industry, power coming to retail consumers. So in order to provide this service, the government said, union government said that we are going to provide certain benefits to the state if state governments take away the debt of discoms. 75% debt le jani thi. 75% of the debt you take away from the discom so that they can have a turnaround. Because jab tak debt hai, wo interest hi bharte reh jayenge. So you take this, we are going to give you some benefits. That coal linkages jaldi milenge. A number of different benefits were done. Financial turnaround and revival of power discom companies. This was the meaning of Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana. Another interesting question. This is a lot in news, oil and gas sector. PNGRB is the first regulatory body set up by the government of India. Power sector has 3 major units. One is generation. Sorry, ये तो power का है, generation, transmission and distribution. And in order to do the generation, here there are also different regulators where you can have a question. For example, in mostly generation, transmission and distribution for technical standards, the regulator is Central Electricity Authority. And for all commercial matters, for generation, transmission and distribution, you have Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. For distribution within the state, generation, transmission within the state, you have a regulator, that is State Electricity. Every state has its own State Electricity Regulatory Commission, apart including Delhi. For union territories, all combined, and the state of Goa, we have the Joint Electricity Regulatory Commission. This is the regulatory structure here. And in case you have against all of the three, you have certain regulatory issues, you can report it to the Appellate Tribunal of Electricity. All of these 3 bodies were created by Electricity Regulatory Commission Act of 98, which got replaced by Electricity Act of 2003. This was in fact one of the first regulatory body created in 1950. Now it is operated under Electricity Act 2003. ये रेगुलेशन है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन ट्रांसमिशन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में. बट जनरेशन करने के लिए इलेक्ट्रिसिटी यू नीड fossil fuels, renewable also, but we talk about regulation of fossil fuels. For that, the sector is divided into upstream activity, midstream activity, and downstream activity. Upstream activity in the hydrocarbon sector, that is the fossil sector, includes exploration and production. Midstream is transport, and downstream is refine the product and market the product. Exploration and production activities, iska regulator is Directorate General of Hydrocarbons. Directorate General of Hydrocarbons, this was created in the year 1993 and operates under the Ministry of Petroleum Natural Gas. This is not a separate agency, it is under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, called as Directorate General of Hydrocarbons, regulator of exploration and production of natural gas, crude oil, coal, anything. Midstream and downstream activities are regulated by Petroleum Natural Gas Regulatory Body, which was created under the PNGRB Act of 2006. And if you have problems, appeals under PNGRB, appeals go to the same body as electricity. This is the complete regulatory architecture in the energy sector. PNGRB is the first regulatory body. No, first regulatory body se pehle bahut regulatory bodies have been created in the country. In fact, this question can be solved if you don't have any information about any energy sector. When was SEBI created? 1992-93 it became statutory creation. Okay, statutory 93. That means there was one regulatory body before PNGRB. RBI is a regulatory body. There are a number of regulatory bodies created before PNGRB. One of the tasks of PNGRB is to ensure competitive market for gas. Yes, midstream and downstream, selling and transportation, this is clear. Appeals against decisions of go before appellate tribunal for electricity, this is true. This was a difficult statement, and unless you know the regulatory architecture, this would not be able to solve. This is what I said, it's a difficult question, you will not be able to solve if you don't know the fact. Why would you do that? अपने आप थोड़ी assumption बनाओगे जो statement में लिखा ही नहीं है. This is what I said, certain facts you can't just assume anything. It's not written there. This is why we say practice more questions. The more practice you do, the more you limit your assumptions. ऐसे दिमाग कहीं भी जा सकता है. अगर 1000 क्वेश्चन किए होंगे तो नहीं जाएगा, because you will be then reading the question on its own merit. The more you practice, the better your ability to solve becomes. Because otherwise, the brain can go anywhere. And the moment you will know the wrong answer also, the moment you come out. ऐसा नहीं है बहुत टाइम लगता है, उसी टाइम समझ आ जाता है क्या कर दिया ये. So it's more about practice. Answer is 2 and 3. Coal sector was nationalized by the government of India under Indira Gandhi, 1973-74. Now coal blocks are allocated on lottery basis. We have a rough idea about the whole coal scam. It cannot be given on a lottery basis. It's an auction basis. Till recently India imported coal, but now India is self-sufficient. Why? Because we don't have the high-grade coking coal, which we always have to import. Though India is self-sufficient, but quality kam hai. Quality is not good. High-grade coking coal is what we have to bring from outside. Answer is 1. Despite having uranium deposits, India depends on coal for most of its electricity production, right? How much of India's electricity comes from coal? Roughly 60%. Uranium enriched to the extent of at least 60% is required for production of electricity. It's almost turning into a bomb. 60%. So if you're reading about Iran and enrichment and all of those things, you'll come to know ज़्यादा enrichment means this. In fact, this recent attack by Israel, because Israel wants to know कि कितना enrich हो चुका है. They're testing the patience of Iran, how much attack they can do. This is why there's too much of escalation by Israel all over on the axis of Israel. जो axis उन्होंने बनाया है of resistance, Hezbollah, Hamas and everywhere. They're testing that patience. They want to know कितना enrich हुआ है. Yes, they're under a threat. There might be an all war. And Iran also knows बना कुछ है नहीं अभी. Because if you see, whole geopolitics is such, the conservative part who wanted to make the bomb, he died in an airplane crash, helicopter crash. उनका president ही दूसरा आ गया. So a lot of things going on. India's 5-year plans. From the second 5-year plan, there was a determined thrust towards substitution of basic and capital good industry. Basic and capital good industry is what? Huh? Class hai. I'll finish in 5 minutes. Basic and capital good industry is? What is basic? Washing machine. Is it basic? Basic is the raw material industry. Capital good is something used in production, and the other is consumer good, directly used. Capital is the machines, heavy machinery. Basic is the raw material, the mining related industry, and the other is key industry, that is infrastructure industry. Now question is asking, second 5-year plan, there was a thrust towards substitution. Was there a substitution? This is a tricky statement they made. They eliminated the word import substitution. We were trying to substitute the imports for basic and capital good. This is correct. Fourth 5-year plan adopted the objective of correcting the earlier trend of increased concentration of wealth and economic power. Fourth 5-year plan, what is the time period? Any rough idea? 80s. 5 ईयर के प्लान है, कैलकुलेट ही कर लो ना 80s तक कैसे पहुंचेंगे. 20 साल ही लगेंगे 47 से. 66 to 69 was the break. 69 to 70 was 4. Now this is the time period. Who's the prime minister? Indira Gandhi. What type of steps is she taking? Nationalization of banks. That means those who are holding banks, उनकी power गई. Then what else? Abolition of privy purse. Anything else? Nationalization of coal, nationalization of insurance. That means she's trying to reduce the concentration of wealth and economic power. This is correct. Even if you don't know the fact, if you just related what exactly was going on. In fifth 5-year plan, for the first time, financial sector was included. Financial sector was mostly important for development of private investment. Now, are we allowing significant private investment before 91? When did we allow this? After 91 onwards. So that means we'll plan for financial sector only after 91. This was part of 9th 5-year plan, not 5th 5-year plan. Answer is 1 and 2. '91 reforms. Which of the following have occurred in India after its liberalization of economic policies? Share of agriculture increased enormously. Most of the 91 reforms were centered around industry and services. Agriculture was not reformed. Share of exports increased. Yes. FDI inflows increased. India's foreign exchange reserves increased enormously. Yes or no? If you see, what was the foreign exchange reserves in 91? Only $1.2 billion. In fact, crisis reserves ka tha. What is the reserve today? This is what the news is in these 2 days. We have crossed 600 billion yet again. So you can see enormous 1 se 600. Answer would be 2, 3 and 4. Is it clear? Again, enormously doesn't mean it will be wrong. If you see the quantum, it is enormously. Merit of the statement which you have to check. With reference to Indian economy after 91 liberalization. Now this was a difficult question, just like the Kerala question we discussed, Kerala, Rajasthan. This is something you can skip because you don't know the fact, cannot be done. Worker productivity increased in urban areas, why did it decrease in rural areas? Percentage share of rural areas in the workforce steadily increased. Slight, you can still work. 91 के बाद से more jobs have been created where? In industry and services, not in agriculture. So will the share of rural areas in workforce steadily increase? Migration हुआ है तो 2 तो cannot be correct. In rural areas, growth in non-farm economy increased. This can be correct. Growth rate in rural employment decreased. This can be correct. So you can have some idea, but if you still cannot, you should skip this question. Some idea can definitely happen because this statement is incorrect. But I don't have an idea of worker productivity. थोड़ा difficult है, eliminate नहीं हो रहा. Answer here is 3 and 4 are correct. Non-farmer economy increased, more in construction and outside work. 1920 के डेटा ने भी बोला क्रॉपिंग से इनकम नहीं बढ़ रही है, अदर एयर वर्क से इनकम इज इंक्रीजिंग. रूरल एरियाज में दिस इज व्हाट 1920 डेटा सेड दैट फार्म इकोनॉमी से इनकम नहीं आ रही है, पीपल हैव टू वर्क आउटसाइड, सो नॉन फार्म इकोनॉमी इज इंक्रीजिंग एज अपोज टू द फार्म इकोनॉमी. This came from a report in 2017. In a given year in India, official poverty lines are higher in some states than others because poverty line across state is measured through the price level in those states. This was given as a change in methodology in 1993 by the Lakdawala methodology. Price levels vary from state to state. This is why poverty line is different. 93 में this state specific poverty line was introduced. Skill development and qualification, human development. Again, all of these questions Indian yearbook. Schemes regularly in the news and yearbook. National Skill Qualification Framework, which of the statement is correct? Under NSFQ, a learner can acquire certification of competency only through formal learning. It's vocational or prior learning that will also be counted. An outcome expected from implementation is mobility between vocational and general education. This is what we want, कि किसी भी education से आपका match हो जाए job. Answer is B, not just formal. Recognition of prior learning scheme. So if you understand the general meaning of recognition of prior learning, that means जो आपने पहले सीखा है उसका recognition होगा. This is certifying the skills acquired by workers through traditional channels. So I'll certify whatever you have learned before. This is recognition of prior learning. Human capital formation as a concept is better explained. What is human capital formation? Health skill in which individuals invest in. It's increasing this knowledge, skill and capacity. Is it tangible or intangible? So 2 and 4. Basic question on human capital development. With reference to Stand Up India, what was Stand Up India? What is the target population of Stand Up India? SC, ST and women. Purpose to promote entrepreneurship among SC, ST and women. Refinancing through SIDBI, this was one of the functions. Banks कैसे लोन देंगे जब तक SIDBI से help नहीं मिलेगी? Answer is C. National Career Services. National Career Service, any idea what is it? You know what is an employment exchange? What is employment exchange? जिनके पास नौकरी नहीं है उनको नौकरी दिलवाने के लिए दिस इज अ डिजिटल चैनल. वेरी इजी एक्सचेंजेस, पीपल दोज हु डोंट हैव जॉब एंड पीपल हु आर लुकिंग फॉर वर्कर्स, दोनों को मिला रहा है एक्सचेंज. इज एन इनिशिएटिव ऑफ डीओपीटी? इट्स नॉट ऑफ डीओपीटी, इट वाज मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ लेबर. हैज बीन लॉन्च्ड टू इंप्रूव द एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज टू अनएजुकेटेड. इट्स नॉट अनएजुकेटेड, इट इज अनएम्प्लॉयड. Unemployed could be anyone. So it's not for uneducated, it is unemployed youth. It's an exchange, employment exchange. Answer was none of them are correct. As per Industrial Standing Order Central Rules 2018. This term became very famous during these years. We have two types of employment. One is employment is under contract and the other is permanent. What is the difference between the two? दोनों में फर्क क्या है? Contract, the wages are not fixed. Contract, you do not get any social security. Permanent, salary is fixed and you also get social security. Since there is mostly contract employment in India who are not given social security, government created a third type of employment, that was fixed term employment, which had features of both. Fixed term employment is contractual employment, but till the time you are on contract, you will get features of permanent. It is contractual, that means the contract will end. You will not be given any reason why it ended, but till the time you are on contract, you are going to get permanent benefits. It rules for fixed term employment are, it is easier for the firms to lay off workers. That means features of contract are still there. You can still lay them off easily. A no notice of termination will be given in case of temporary workmen. This was true because features of contract existed. क्योंकि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट खत्म होगा तो मैं हटा तो सकता ही हूँ. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के टाइम में मुझे उन्हें बेनिफिट्स परमानेंट के देने हैं, बट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो डेफिनेटली आई कैन एंड एंड मूव देम आउट एंड आई हैव टू प्रोवाइड देम नो रीजन फॉर टर्मिनेशन. दोनों के लिए परमानेंट है, जब तक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे हो परमानेंट का आपको जो भी बेनिफिट मिलता है वो आपको ही मिलेगा, बट स्टिल यू आर ऑन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. बोथ स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट. With reference to casual workers employed in India, this was a controversial question because UPSC interpretation differed a lot. All casual workers are entitled for EPF coverage. Now, this is a Supreme Court judgment which said this statement. Okay, all casual workers are entitled to EPF. What UPSC interpreted was, if the employees are less than 20, then this does not count. वो जो स्टेटमेंट दिया है वो सब स्टेटमेंट जब एम्प्लॉय 20 से ज्यादा है, 20 से कम है तो दिस इज नॉट एंटाइटल्ड. All casual workers are entitled for regular working hours. This is true. Government can by notification shall pay wages only through its bank account. This can also do. Answer is 2 and 3. This type of a question you can still, difficult interpretation hai, and skip also. Which of the following compiles information on disputes, closures, retrenchment and layoff employing workers? Again in the yearbook question. Answer is CSO, Department of Promotion, National Technical or Labor Bureau. Answer is C, Labor Bureau. Social security related to this, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has been launched for financial inclusion. What is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion is a very important theme, both in prelims and mains. What is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion means three things. Availability and quality of formal financial services. Access means physical, economic and social. Physical access, logistics, social access, no discrimination, economic access, affordability. Availability of all types of service, quality means choice of service. सिर्फ एक ही बैंक अकाउंट नहीं होना चाहिए, different types of services I can get. This is quality. Which of the following can join the NPS? Residents, person from 21 to 55, state government employees joining the services after state of notification. Question का meaning means anything related to this type. For example, UPS is the new scheme now. You should know the complete features. Again, this time NPS बहुत news में नहीं था, but question फिर भी आया. This is why reading the yearbook is very important. You'll find such type of information there. Answer here is C. NPS now is covered mostly in all newspapers. NFSA. The families coming under BPL only are eligible. How many people are getting food under NFSA? 80 crore. तो 80 crore तो poor नहीं है. From there itself you can get this. Eldest women shall be the head of the household for issuance of ration card. This was true. Pregnant women and lactating mothers are entitled to take home ration 1600 calories. This is a very difficult statement. क्योंकि calories पे गलत कराया है. It's 600 kilocalories, not 1600. So in depth you need to prepare this. NFSA is a topic given separately in mains. NFSA provides legal protection to what all schemes? कौन सी schemes covered है under NFSA Act? Targeted PDS. What else? The midday meal scheme, the ICDS, because NFSA covers complete from birth till death life cycle approach है. ICDS में तो हैज मातृ वंदना योजना, जननी सुरक्षा योजना एक लिंक्ड स्कीम है जो वो यूपीएससी ने पूछी है. देयर आर 3 schemes मेजर, मिड डे मील, ICDS, जननी सुरक्षा इज पार्ट ऑफ ICDS एंड PDS. These are the 3 schemes covered under NFSA. Self-help groups were originally initiated by SBI by providing microcredit to financially deprived. Who started 1982? It was started by NABARD, not by SBI. In SHG, all members take responsibility for loan that individual member takes. In fact, benefit ही उसका यही है कि repayment ज़्यादा होगा, group discipline. RRBs and scheduled commercial banks support SHGs. This is true. Answer is 2 statements. B is correct. Quality and standardization, sometimes asked again in the yearbook type. Standard mark, Bureau of Indian Standard is mandatory for tires and tubes. BIS mark is required for this. Egg mark is a quality certification mark issued by FAO. This is an Indian mark, not by FAO. Food certification हमारा act है जिसमें egg mark है, it is not of FAO. Answer is 1 here. Quality Council of India is jointly set up by Government of India and Indian industry. Again, Indian yearbook. You'll find the information here. Chairman is appointed by Prime Minister. Both of the statements are correct. Digitization. Smart India Hackathon 2017. Fact-based question. Smart India Hackathon was about digital technology to solve problems faced by the country. News mein tha. This is all news. This is a difficult question. This is something you can skip. Cyber insurance for individuals. It does not cover the damage for a computer. Rest three were covered. Restoration of the system, cost of hiring consultant, and cost of defense if third party files a suit. This is a offbeat question. You can't prepare for this. ये question छोड़ने का है. Like 10 to 15 questions are something which you should not attempt. These are the types of questions. 2 questions from microeconomics asked in the last 10-15 years. Commodities provided free to the public by government. Then what do you understand by opportunity cost? What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost means there is 2 choices. This is the selected choice and this is the choice not selected. So benefit from this minus the benefit of select. This is opportunity cost. Benefits foregone from choice number 2. So आपने जो benefit of selected minus this. The moment opportunity cost is high, that means you should not select this but select this. If it is given for free, then opportunity cost is 0. That means if the government is providing any commodity for free, is the opportunity cost 0? Why no? Because the government जो पैसा यहाँ लगा है वो कोई और use कर सकती थी. Yes? So this is not good. Opportunity cost is ignored. When the opportunity cost is ignored? When I can do both the things at the same time. अगर मेरी resource की limitation नहीं है, मेरे पास दोनों चीजें कर सकता हूं तो मेरी opportunity cost ही नहीं है. If I can do only one, then only I have opportunity cost. But if I can do both, that means there is opportunity cost is ignored. Opportunity cost is transferred from consumer of the product to tax paying public. Is transferred from the product to the government. That means if I don't have to spend money here, this is a service coming for free. I don't have to take the opportunity cost क्योंकि मुझे तो free में मिल रहा है. I can do the other thing also. Now government के लिए opportunity cost कैसे है? Because government can have spent money here and not here. But whose money is this? उनके से ही ये option बना. वो पैसे नहीं होते तो option नहीं थे दोनों. So the opportunity cost is here, not here. Answer is taxpaying public. Slightly difficult, but if you have an understanding of opportunity costs, can be done. There's one more question on demand and supply. Other things remaining constant, unchanged. Market demand for a good might increase if demand has to increase, right? Price of substitute increases. If substitute ka price increase hoga, will I buy my own product more? Yes, this is correct. If price of complement increases, then my demand will be less. Good is an inferior good and income increases. What is the definition of inferior good? कि अगर income बढ़ने से quantity demand कम होती है, it is a inferior good. So this is not correct. Price falls. Yes, answer is 1 and 4. Is it clear? Industry services on industry linked employment or social protection. All of that information can be prepared from India Yearbook. Current events from newspaper and survey. So we've completed the complete 10 years. If you have any doubts, this is the email address you can write to. With respect to any economics, past year or any other doubt you have. Thank you.